Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Chaos Child. We've recently learned that one or all of the members of the newspaper club have been brainwashed in some way, shape, or form. Things are not looking good. In fact, they're looking fairly grim, as it's likely one of us is the killer. And we're gonna find out who it is. We're following Nono right now on the path to Hekiho Academy. She's rushing off somewhere because of course she is. Therese was walking alone along an empty street. Panting pretty heavily for someone who'd been walking. She'd been walking a long time and at a fast pace. Ah, okay, I can sympathize a little bit. She was wearing her school uniform. There was a school rule that said whenever you went on campus you had to wear your uniform. It was funny to realize she was obeying it even now. That's right, fuck the rules. If it's an emergency, they can't be that important, but... you might have been wearing it anyway. I mean, you're wearing it most of the day, and you're wearing it 6 days a week anyway. You're probably wearing it. She found a clue in the Don't Look at Me video and asked a certain person to meet her at Hekiho Academy. Oh. The person had said they couldn't be there immediately, but that they would call her when they got to the school. That seems safe. There was no need to hurry. There was plenty of time until she got there. That's what Nono told herself. But her body kept driving her forward. Oh, my phone. She realized she hadn't looked at it in a long time. She must have been under more strain than she realized. She had like 30 missed calls from it. She looked and saw several calls from Takuru and Arimura. Yeah. How do you not notice your phone ringing while on your person? Well, apparently she can. Not just one, but like 10 calls too. She thought of stopping and heading back, but then sighed as she realized it was impossible. I can't simply walk back. It's too far. I walked all the way here. I can't walk back, of course. She couldn't go back to Alba Dorm now. If she saw Takuru's face, her determination would waver. Her determination would waver and she would change her mind. So now the only thing she could do was go forward. Now that she'd realized the hidden truth. Sorry, I guess I'm a liar after all. She apologized to her absent brother and tapped the phone in her pocket. Then she glared at the hill in front of her as she readied herself for what was to come. She had to rid herself of any kindness or sentimentality. Even if she didn't intend any mercy now, she might find herself in a moment of weakness later. Getting serious, Non. Non, it's getting serious. At night, the academy was an ominous, dark silhouette amidst the dazzling lights of Shibuya. It was as if it knew what was coming. Usually there was a guard in the room attached to the front gate, but for some reason she couldn't see him. Ah, great, the guard's missing. You're not screwed. The air felt tense. She shook off her uncertainty and went inside. She went into the dark newspaper club room and turned on the fluorescent lights. Yeah, it's really weird having students able to just access schools at night at any time, at least in high school. I mean, in university, a lot of buildings are technically open if you have like a key to get into it, because, you know, people have to work in labs at late at night and shit, but not usually in high school. Feels weird. Nono had decided to wait here for her call, but when she arrived, she found something unexpected. It was the map they'd put up to analyze the case, which had been taken down a while before. It was back on the wall. And there were several new pictures and pieces of information she hadn't seen before. That was probably Takuru's doing. He'd been continuing to hunt the killer in secret too. Secret literally has a giant map on the wall. Takuru, you're a liar too. All liars. She felt herself letting her guard down and she thought of Takuru and quickly shook her head. She brought a chair close to the wall and sat down and stared at the map. Takuru had said something once. Is she gonna look at the right and realize the killer's... Oh, sorry. Lately it feels like the case is chasing us instead. Look at the right, please. Looking back, several things that happened that could only be explained that way. Yeah. Cruz had decided that Takuru's life was in danger because he was a psychic. And she was doing this to save him. She was gonna save him, alright. But is she gonna look at the right? Because this is where it says there's 3 people who could be the killer. And all of them are students here. You should be like freaking you should be like concerned that suddenly you or Sarika's the killer. If the person you're meeting Sarika, you're in some serious danger, man. If the killer was just after Kuru's life, there were more direct ways to go about it. But instead, they got the return of the New Generation Madness killings and what happened to Yui. It would have been easy for them to take Takuru's life. But just like Takuru had said, the case seemed to be slowly closing in on them from all sides. Which meant... They aren't after Takuru's life, they're after something else involving him. Okay, good conclusion, but have you noticed that we've narrowed down who the killer is to 3 people? That was the only thing that made sense. She couldn't figure out what it could be. But then she saw a piece of paper on the board. Haida had Minami-sawa's ID card. The fact had sent her mind reeling. One of the reasons she'd figured out it was Riko Haida. But I know who it is that's working behind the scenes, trying to achieve whatever their goal is. Oh yeah? It all had started with the ID card that Senri Minami-sawa had. That was, without a doubt, her real card. And no one but Karus could have known where it was. All of Senri's things lay beneath the memorial. Karus had put them there herself. All of Senri's family had died in the earthquake. She had no surviving relatives. So after the memorial had gone up, Karus had put them there. Even Kawahara, the other boy who'd been playing with them, didn't know that. It was a secret about Senri only Karus knew. But Riko Haida had held that secret. No, she'd been given it. How is that possible? Mind reading. The power to see others' thoughts and memories. Kakita, the victim in the revolving dead case, had supposedly possessed it. The killer used it to read Karus's mind, and that was how they were able to find Senri's ID card. In other words, it's someone I've made contact with. And now she'd found what was hidden in the Don't Look at Me video. She had no choice but to fight them. Now that she'd done that, really? She'd probably made contact with them more than once or twice. Because they were one of her closest friends. How long have I known you, I wonder? She suddenly remembered their smile. Her whisper echoed off the walls with no one to hear it. Arimura was brainwashed, but her brain should as well, but there was no abnormality? She did get tested, right? It might just... If you're no longer brainwashed or fighting it, it might just relax with time. Like, it swells under pressure and then relaxes over time. Her whisper echoed off the walls with no one to hear it. The countless after-school hours they'd spent together were some of the most important times in Karus's life. Meaningless conversations, shops they'd browsed together, but she couldn't think of any special memories. And that was very painful for her, because that was only a sign of how close they were. But I have to ask, I have to find out. Even if the answer meant that things would never be the same. And there's one more thing. Her thoughts went deeper. There was one more thing she had to ask. At AH Tokyo General Hospital. That was where Takuru had seen Senri being experimented on 8 years ago. She'd been tied to a chair and slowly going mad when she'd seen a boy, Takuru, she didn't know. She had no time to figure out who he might be. She shouted, "Help me," without even understanding what was going on. The boy heard it and ran. Was he surprised at the horrible scene he saw, or afraid? Probably both. And Curious couldn't blame him for either. At the time, he was just a 4th grader, a 10-year-old boy. There was no way he could have saved Senri. That was why Senri didn't hate him. Curious knew that. She tried to tell Takuru many times and failed. But her one big mistake. That was why she knew. That was why she'd always been suspicious. 8 years ago, when the boy had witnessed Senri being experimented on, he was alone. He was outside the room where the experiment was being done. Okay, yeah. A single timid boy peeking through a tiny crack in the door. There was no one next to him.
けど、タクルはあの時、二人で目撃したと言っている。
But Takuru said he saw it with another person. At first, she had thought that Takuru was just confused. He'd been in a coma for over a year and he was simply mistaken. But then she said the same thing. That they were together. It had been a thorn in her heart for a long, long time.
本当にあなたは、あの時タクルと一緒にいたの?
Were you really with Takuru then? She reached out toward the computer, but in the end, let her hands float in the air. She'd seen the Vizio dozens of times. It wouldn't be any different here than it was in Albadorm. Nor would the secret it concealed. Nor would it change what she was about to do. There was no changing any of it, it seemed. It took a long time before they called her. It was almost midnight. But Carius didn't get frustrated. She simply waited, calmly. She'd assumed it would be around this time. They were probably waiting for November 4th, the day of the New Generation Madness.
そして私を。
And then they were going to do to her what they did to the other victims. Oh? Ring ring. She felt her phone vibrating and took it out of her pocket. Sakura was still calling despite the late hour. He'd sent text messages too. Of course, Carius hadn't answered at all. Was it him again? Oh, interesting. I'd just like to note that the background, they didn't update the photos in the background on the billboard here. Was it him again, she thought as she looked at the screen? Oh. The name she'd been waiting for had appeared on the screen. Alright. She answered the call and put the phone up to her ear.
もしもし。
Hello? She heard a voice she knew well on the other end. Sorry to keep you waiting, she said.
いいのよ。
Okay.
そんなに待ってないから。
How's it going, sweetie?
それにここへ呼んだのは私の方だし。
Okay, I haven't been waiting that long. And I was the one who called you here.
それじゃあ屋上でいいかしら。待ってるわね。
Yeah, how about the roof then? Yeah, I'll be waiting. She ended the call and went to put the phone back into her pocket. But suddenly she stopped and called up a picture on the screen. It was the photo of her family at Albadorm, the same as the one that was Takuru's treasure. She stared at it for a while and placed the phone on the edge of the table, the place where she always sat when she was with the newspaper club. If something happened to her, she wanted someone else to save it. And then she looked around the room and bowed.
お世話になりました。
Thank you for everything. The lights out, she turned off the lights and the room became as dark as the abyss. Don't act like you're never coming back. He wasn't by her side to tell her that. Alright. Here we go. Damn it. I was pulling my hair out in frustration. I'd already watched the video 100 times. It was, of course, the video of Utani, the Don't Look at Me victim. 35-minute long video. He'd wept tears of blood, lost his arm, turned his desk red, and died. Not only was I watching a shocking, gory video over and over again, I was searching desperately for what Carius had found. It felt like I was going crazy.
Carius. 出てくれよ、Carius.
Answer me, Carius, answer me. Each time I finished answering the video, or watching the video, I called her phone. She never answered. I slammed my finger down on the end call button and started up the video again. Maybe it was something in the user comments, not the video itself. I thought it might be, but I checked everyone and nothing struck me as unusual. It was just a flood of meaningless comments going from right to left, and only a few were actually worried about Utani, which just pissed me off more. The hell am I supposed to find in the video? Okay, take a hint to Karu. She cranked the volume as loud as it can go. It's something in the audio, and at the point she paused it, it might be relevant, but you didn't really consider that. You're watching the whole thing again and again. I expanded it to fill the screen. I tried slowing it down. There was nothing. Had Karus found something here? Use your ears, my man.
タクルさん
Oh, it's Uki. Okay. There was a hesitant knock on the door and Uki came in. She'd probably been crying with Yudo. She was rubbing her swollen red eyes.
ユウトは
Where's Yuto?
先生が帰ってきて見てくれてます。お薬を飲んだのですぐに眠れるだろうって。
Doctor came back and is looking at him. He took his medicine, so he'll go to sleep soon, he said. Her voice is still a little teary. And you trust the doctor? Alone with him, alright.
何かわかりましたか？
Did you figure something out?
いや、ダメなんだ。
I got nothing. The audio was literally cranked so hard it was painful for you to have it, but you haven't considered the audio? Uki looked very concerned as she watched me grit my teeth.
私、ののさんが何かを発見したとき、近くにいました。
I was close to Nono when she found something.
ああ、
なんだか、いつもの冷静なののさんじゃなくて、だから、とても心配です。
She wasn't as calm as she usually was. I'm very worried. Uki seemed to be remembering what had happened. Seeing her only made me more worried.
クルスのやつ、どんな感じだったんだ？
What was she like?
それが、突然立ち上がって、そんなのは嘘だとか、ありえないとか、最初、すごくうろたえていて。
Well, she suddenly stood up, said it couldn't be, that it was impossible. At first, she was very shocked.
うろたえた？
Shocked?
はい。顔色も真っ青だったんです。
Yes, she'd gone pale. Shocked and pale? Did that mean she knew the killer? It was someone she didn't want to be the killer?
やっぱり僕か、尾上か。
So it was me, Oronoe? And then I shook my head.
ごめんなさい。本当はそこで私がののさんの力に慣れていればこんなことには。
I'm sorry, if I'd been able to help her then this never would have happened.
いや、それはいいんだ。
Not your fault. Not your fault. Alright. I tried my best to keep her from sensing my panic as I slowly asked her another question. For now, I wanted any hint, no matter how small.
ウキ、クルスは動画を見ていて何かに気づいたんだよな。それでそのシーンを何度も見直していた。
Uki, Karus watched the video and figured something out, right? She watched that scene over and over?
多分そうだったと思います。
I think so.
それがどのあたりかわからないんだったな。
What part was it, or you don't know, right?
すみません。
Sorry. She looked down towards the ground and I quickly shook my hand at her.
いや、責めてるとかじゃないんだ。そうじゃなくて。
I'm not blaming you, it's just, we kind of need an idea. I swear, like, the fact that the volume was cranked so high as to be painful should be like a hint that there's something you can hear. What should I do? What do I ask to get the hint I need?
ダメだ。わからない。
It's no good, I don't know. Tell me, Karus. Where's the clue? Tell me!
情けないっすね、先輩。
You're such a loser, Miyashiro. And then, suddenly I heard a voice behind Uki. I looked up and saw Ayamura playing with her twin tails.
なんすかその顔。泣きそうじゃないですか。
What's with that look? You look like you're about to cry. Thanks,
う
Ayamura.
るさい。お前に関係ないだろ。
Shut up, it's got nothing to do with you. I yelled at her even though I knew I shouldn't. And Arimura laughed.
関係なくないっすよ。そろそろ11月4日になるんですけど、ウキのそばにくっついてろって言ったの
Which
先輩
it
でしょ。
sure does. It's almost the 4th. You're the one who told me stay with Uki.
あ、
Oh, right.
すまない。
Right, sorry.
あと、クルス先輩のこと実は結構好きなんすよね、私。だから関係ないとか言われるとすっげームカつく。
Oh, she doesn't like it. And you know, I really like Karus, so telling me it's got nothing to do with it really pisses me off. Okay, Armor. Armura's face suddenly became serious, and then she yelled.
しっかりしなさい。そんなに焦ってたら気がつくものも気がつかないでしょ、このバカ。
Classic. Call him a baka. That'll get it. That'll get his attention. Get hold of yourself. You're panicking that much. You're not going to notice anything, you moron.
クルス先輩なら絶対に言うと思います。
That's what Karus would say, I think.
有村。
Arimura?
ねえウキ、クルス先輩が何かにびっくりして、でその後映像を何度も見直したんだよね。
Hey, Uki, you said Karus got very surprised and then she watched the video again and again, right?
はい。
Yes, that's right.
その時ってどんな様子だったわけ？
What was she
何かに
acting
気
like
づい
that?
て驚いた後だよ。
After she acted surprised. Arimura put her hand on Uki's shoulder and started to ask more questions. Arimura is more productive than us. Let's see, find out.
ののさん、すごく真剣な顔になって怖いくらいでした。
She looked very serious. It was kind of scary.
うん。で、
And
イヤフォンにじっと耳を澄ませる感じで、
she seemed to be listening
何か
carefully on her
を一生
headphones,
懸命聞こうとしてるというか。
as if she was trying to make something out. I can't believe our protagonist needed to be told this by Uki after he had his ears nearly blown out by how ridiculously loud the audio on the laptop was.
うん。
Huh?
What? She was listening? I never considered that, and then I realized I'd missed something simple.
僕は今まで何をやってたんだ。
Yeah, what have you been doing trying to figure out what someone was doing at the video and immediately altering the volume? If something's abnormally high, that means someone was listening to something. It's like figuring shit out 101. You're like, okay, they were listening to something because it was really loud. Either that, or they accidentally hit the volume slider. One of those two. I've been panicking too much because of Karus.
クルスは昨日もこの動画を見てたじゃないか。それで僕と喧嘩になった。
Karus was watching the video yesterday. That's why she and I got in that fight. But she wasn't wearing headphones then. The computer had been set at maximum volume. What if that was deliberate, obviously? Jesus, man.
どうしました先輩？
What is it, Miyashir? He's like, I needed someone to smack me. I wasted like 10 hours watching this video over and over again without even using the volume. Because I'm the sound. It should be the sound before he's dead.
画像じゃない。音に何かがあるんだ。
You say this like it's an amazing revelation, but literally anyone could have said that. Literally anyone would have noticed that. There was someone trying to go to sleep right behind Karus, and she cranked the volume. Clearly that's a problem. Like, clearly she's not that, self-centered or, inconsiderate. She's more conscientious than that, so she'd reduce the volume if it was loud. But she didn't, so that means she was looking at the audio. Like, shouldn't that be so obvious? I'm no detective, but that should be obvious. Alright, it's something in the sound. That's why Karus had worn headphones and set the volume to maximum.
とりあえず聞いてくれ、これ。
Listen to this. I handed her the stereo headset that was connected to the computer. When I saw she put them on, I set the volume to max and pressed play.
申し訳ない。この安売りセールしていた生地がありえないくらい硬くて。
Oh my god, that's so loud. Okay. My ears are gonna get blown out, but it's for plot reasons. I'll suffer through it. The sound was so loud, she ripped the headphones off her ears. And she threw them at me.
ちょっと、私の耳をぶっ壊すつもりですか？
Are you trying to destroy my ears? Apparently, me and everyone else listening just had their ears blown out by the protagonist intentionally.
だろ？普通そうなるはずだ。
That's what you normally say.
当たり前でしょうが。
Of course it is. That's right, normally you couldn't focus on anything with the sound this loud. In other words, what Karus had been listening to
音がほとんど入ってない部分だ。
was the part where there's barely any sound. Yup. I moved the video back to the start and played it at maximum volume.
はい。ではいつも通り3分くらい募集をかけるんで適当によろです。
Okay, I'm gonna take 3 minutes for questions. Get to it. The scene with him in front. This should be the last dialogue, I believe. The scene with him in front of the computer was too loud to listen to.
なんだよ。生放送中だっつうの。
Oh, come on, I'm streaming right now. The sound got a little better when he left the computer, but it still kind of hurt at maximum volume. It was hard to imagine her listening to this part over and over again. Utani disappeared out of frame, and I stopped being able to hear what he was saying. This is the part where people thought the killer had come in. But everyone from police to internet users all over the country had thought it would lead to the killer. It had been listened to millions of times and all. It was in this part someone would have... Who was in this part? Someone would have found it already.
この先確か怖いんですよね。私あっち行ってます。行こう、ウキ。
It gets scary after this, right? I'll go over there. Let's go, Uki.
でも
But Arimura pulled Uki away by the hand. They bitch out? They bitch out? Really? Arimura, what the fuck are you doing? This relates to the person who's trying to murder you, and you're like, I don't need to find out what this is.
ありがとう、ウキ。もう大丈夫だ。
Uki.
有村
Fine
も
now.
ありが
Thanks,
とう
Arima.
な。
必ずクルス先輩を見つけてくださいね。
Make sure you find Kurus, okay? Really?
ああ、二人も4日になったら絶対に離れるなよ。トイレもだぞ。
Don't get separated once the 4th starts, okay? Even in the bathroom. What?
何かあったら大声で叫べ。すぐに行く。
Yell out if something happens. I'll be right there.
はい、お願いします。
Okay, thank you.
期待しないで待ってます。
Sure, but I'm not expecting much. Once I made sure Arimura and Uki had gone up to the dining room, I started to check all the parts of the video with white noise. Not here. The knocking. Not here either. No, there was nothing here. Or in this scene. That's something. That's something. Nothing here either. There were small sounds mixed in with the irritating white noise. It was harder than it looked to focus all your nerves on them. My hearing started to fade, and I started to lose my sense of balance. My head felt heavy, and suddenly I had a terrible headache. I grit my teeth and fought through the pain. Furious had gone through this, and in the end, she found something. I had to do the same. And then, I heard a tiny noise. I paused the video without realizing I'd even done so.
今の。あ、
What was that? What was that? I put my finger on the earphone in my right ear and pushed it in deeper so I could hear better. I used my left hand to move the video back and press play again.
なんだこの音。
What is this sound? It was the scene where Itani was cutting what he described as the cheese beneath the dim fluorescent lights. In between the sounds of the knife, I could hear something else. So, since Nono's already told us, we should suspect Sarika here. But, I believe that is the sound of her Gara Froggy thing. The thing that's, like, they've pointed out to us, like, 200 times.
もう一回。
One more time. One more time. I played the video again.
この音、確かどこかで。
I've heard this sound before. I know I've heard it. I knew that sound. I'd heard it very recently, very close to me. I played it again and again. I concentrated everything I had on picking up the tiniest sound from amidst the noise. What? I finally realized what it was. And suddenly I felt a cold pillar of ice pressed against my spine. And you could call it sheer terror if you wanted to. My hands shook and sweat poured out of every pore in my body. It felt like the room was spinning.
嘘。太郎。
Can't be real, can it?
くそ。
Damn it. I slammed my shaking hands down on the desk, and the pain finally got them to do what I wanted. It took me several tries, but I managed to open my Pokécom and power it on. I yanked out the headphones from the PC and plugged an audio cable into my Pokécom.
嘘だ。
No. I kept screwing up, but managed to load that scene into an audio editing software. I set the volume to maximum and set it on repeat. And then I hit the play button, my hand still shaking. Bam. This can't be real. I slammed the Pokécom on the floor and called her on my phone. The phone rang and rang. Once, twice, 3 times.
クルスはこの音に気づいて。
Did Karus notice this sound? It kept ringing. 6, 7, 8. It was as if she was ignoring me.
ダメだってない。
Why are you calling her instead of Shinjo and being like, holy fuck, arrest Sarika? She's still picking up. I ended the call, and this time I pulled up Karus's number. She doesn't answer. Why would you call her? Karus doesn't fucking answer. You've called her like 100 times telling her, get the fuck back here. What are you doing, you Pega? But she's not doing it. This is like a call Shinjo. We know who was at the scene. We need to fucking figure out whether she was fucking brainwashed or is actually the killer. But he's not. Call Shinjo. I got the same result. No shit, we already knew that.
なんでだよ。
Why? We already know that. Karus isn't answering her fucking phone. We already know this. This isn't new information to Kuru, you moron. Call Shinjo or call someone who can do something, which would be that annoying purple-haired lady. Whose name I just forgot. They kept ignoring me. No matter how long I waited, I couldn't hear Karus's voice. Stop calling her! Why are you calling her? You know she won't pick up. You've called 100 times. You've texted 100 times. It's like, do you magically expect someone to pick up on the 101st try? It's like, oh yeah, the other 99 times I didn't notice, but the 100th time. Like, she's either dead or ignoring you. Either way, stop calling. Call someone who might be able to do something. Because, you know, the police can get people's cell phone records, and if the phone's on, they can triangulate the position to a few blocks. It's not super accurate, but if you're like, say, at the school, and the school is a massive complex, you could probably say she's in the school. Pretty handily if you're like, that's the only place she goes in that area. Oh well, I hung up the phone and ran out of the room without even knowing where I was going. So we're not calling Shinjo once we've found the killer, or we think we've found, like, a big piece. We're not trying to get information or find a team. We're just gonna run off solo and do this ourselves. Really? I hung up the phone and ran out of the room without even knowing where I was going. Great, good job, buddy. Good news, it's a long way to school. November 4th, 2015, a Wednesday. We haven't called Shinjo, but we know who the killer might be. Good job on us. I don't know how we expect to be able to beat someone who has telepathy, but alright. Alright, Bruce walks onto the rooftop. The roof was normally a place for students to laugh and talk. Under the cool moonlight, the empty benches remained silent and sad. Bruce looked at the benches and shivered once more. It wasn't because of the cold, it's because she realized this place was truly empty. Of course it was. No one's allowed here at this hour. It was an isolated place where the warm light didn't reach, only the cold light did. No matter what happened here, the rest of the world wouldn't care. It wouldn't exist outside this place. It's too perfect, maybe. It was so perfect for her, it was almost sad, Karus thought. While Karus was waiting for her to arrive, she hadn't been thinking about the case. Strangely, she'd been thinking about her family and friends. While Karus was waiting for her to arrive, she wasn't watching the door, apparently. Alright. What did she always say to her family before she left to come here in the morning? Did they smile? The younger students who'd helped with the student council work? The talks she had with her classmates about the latest fads? The brief fights in the lunchroom forgotten as soon as the bell rang to tell them to go back to class? Each time she started to lapse too deep into her memories, a cold wind would blow and pull her back to reality. And then she realized something with a self-abasing laugh. She knew it. The reason Nono wasn't thinking about the case was because that part of her was sure she already knew everything. If she asked, she would get the fatal answer that would lay bare the truth. And once she had heard the answer, a strong wind blew as if to carry away her thoughts, and she closed her eyes for a moment. And when she opened them, she heard the sound of a rusty door opening.
のんちゃん
No. That's like her lips twisted a little when she heard her say it.
のんちゃんか。
None, huh? So that, like, the obvious suspect is Sarika because she didn't call Takuru. So, like, Takuru doesn't know where she's going, so if she's expecting to go to her death, it's, like, it's gotta be the other one, right? But, alright. Let's see. Made her mad to hear herself called that. She felt heat rising from the bottom of her stomach. It was time to begin.
本当に悪かったわね。こんなところに呼び出して。
I'm sorry to bring you out here.
ね。おのえ。
Hey, I'll know it.
のんちゃん
No. Did she realize Karus was using a different name? Or did she sense something instinctively? Sarika repeated herself, this time with a suspicious look on her face. She tried to get closer, but a glance from Karus stopped her. Sarika froze.
答えなさい。あなたなの？
Answer me. Was it you?
何が
Was what me?
答えなさい。
Answer me.
ん
Karus repeated her words to her former best friend, the one outside her family she called by her first name. But Sarika's expression didn't change. It was the same face Karus knew so well. The same look as when Sarika brought a crepe and was wondering what was inside. Thinking back, the two of them went shopping together all the time. Onoe had insisted she looked fine without makeup, and Karus had insisted on buying her some anyway. It had been a lot of fun. They were always together in the club. She'd argued against Akuru's reckless plans and stopped Kazuki from pounding the walls, and the two of them had always been amazed at the stupid things Ito said. But they'd always been laughing together, but...
第一の事件。あそこにいたのはあなたよね。
You were there at the scene of the first crime, weren't you?
わかんないよ、のんちゃん。さっきから何を
I don't know what you're talking about, Na. Where is this coming from?
映像に音が入ってた。私のよく知ってる音がね。
There's a sound on the video, a sound I knew well. In the Don't Look at Me video, she'd heard the strange sound that Sarika's Garo Froggy made. Sarika had a bad habit of unconsciously fiddling with it whenever she was focusing on something. Karus took a step forward to stop herself from falling over, and glared at Sarika with a challenge in her eyes. That's right, Karus was glaring at Sarika.
ちょっとのんちゃん
Wait, no.
答えなさいって言ってるでしょ。
I said answer me. Sarika staggered back at the sound of her loud footsteps. Finally, her expression changed. There was fear in it.
ユイは私たちの家族から消えてしまった。死んでしまったの。もう帰ってこないの。
Yui isn't a part of my family anymore. She's dead and she's not coming back.
どうしてあんなことをしたの？
Why did you do that? Sarika stayed quiet, the terrified expression still on her face. Was she really terrified by Karus, or was she trying to fool her? Or... Karus took another step forward.
8年前のあの日、あの病院の地下にあなたはいたの？タクルと一緒に本当にいたの？
On that day 8 years ago, did you really go down to that hospital basement? Were you really there with the Kuru?
答えられないわよね。だって、
You
あな
can't
たは
answer me,
絶対
can
に
you?
あそこにはいなかったもの。
Because you weren't there.
それは私が一番よく知ってる。
I know that better than anybody.
それじゃあ、あなたは一体誰？
So, who are you? Karus's question was something she'd wondered about ever since Onoe had said she'd gone into that basement with him. It was the one last thing she'd been unsure of that she'd kept quiet about to protect her own secret. Until a little while ago, it had seemed like it didn't matter. She was willing to go her whole life without finding out, because Sarika Onoe was someone she loved. But now...
言いなさい。あなたは誰？
Tell me, who are you? But Sarika said nothing, not a word. Did she really not know anything? The thought crossed her mind for a moment, but she quickly kicked it away. That was just what she wanted to believe. She had suspicions about Sarika for a long time, but she'd ignore them because she was too afraid to ask, and the result of that had been Yui's death. Grace raised her hands and brought them together as if offering a prayer, and the next moment... She brought them down hard and straight, as if swinging a sword. Sarika moved back just a little. Her movement might have looked like pure reflex, but Karus didn't miss it. Which meant...
やっぱり。
So I was right, huh?
そうなのね。
That was the answer to everything.
そうだったのね。
That was it, huh? Sarika's face became blank and expressionless. She didn't frown or sigh at her own failure. Her manner became that of a beautiful doll.
セリ。
She was right. She'd been ready for it, but she still couldn't help but cry. She tried to stop herself. She grit her teeth. But Sarika's gaze wasn't fixed on her anymore. She stood, legs apart, as if judging the distance between herself and the thing in the seemingly empty space between them.
間違いない。
There's no question. She saw it. And now it was Sarika's turn to look into her eyes. Her eyes were different than Karus had ever seen before, as if they saw everything.
違う。
It's not right. Suddenly, Karus knew. It wasn't just a simile. Her eyes did see everything. That was telepathy. A terrible, twisted power which exposed all your most treasured secrets. Okay, so... I have, like, one comment for Karus. If you're planning on fighting a telepath, which is, like, pretty suicidal in a one-on-one situation, or in a group situation, really, if you don't have a defense, don't give them time to think. The more they can read your thoughts, the more screwed you are. It should be 100% an assassination or a rushdown. Like, if you can't set a trap that you don't need to think about, that'll kill them, or you can't kill them before they know you're there, or you can't rush them down before they can think you're in, like, such a bad spot. So it should be swing and a miss. The minute she reacts, you instantly swing again. She heard the sound of herself clenching her jaw, and then she forgot her tears and turned herself over to the rage that was boiling within her. Interesting. Reverse grip sword. It had been 6 years since she'd real booted it, and it was almost sad how easily it came to her hand. The D sword. A monstrous blade that only those with the power to make delusions real could wield. Sorry. She refused to look away from the light she'd never wanted to see again as she pointed the blade at her opponent. That's awkward. It's like a gauntlet with a reverse grip knife in it. Like, good luck pointing it at someone.
南沢千里を使っていたのは
You're the one using Senri Minamisawa, weren't you?
お前に言われたくないよ、クルスノノ。
I don't want to hear that from you, Nona. Her voice made Karus shiver. You're too slow already. A blade even more wicked than her voice appeared in Sarika's hands, opening like a blooming poisonous flower. It was beautiful. For a moment she was blinded by the beauty of the weapon. She forgot it threatened to cut into her soft flesh. Okay. So, I'm gonna be honest, a reverse grip knife gauntlet is pretty bad as far as a melee weapon goes compared to a standard sword, as your range is fucking terrible, and the motions to actually reach out and cut someone are, like, awful. Just think about that. You have a gauntlet with like a permanent reverse grip on a knife, which means in order to like thrust at someone, you have to like turn your arm 90 degrees. You lose like a lot of range of motion that way. Like, reverse grip is good for really, it's like okay for really close fights. Really close fights, but the minute you need range, which you've clearly given your opponent as they've drawn their sword, you're in a lot of trouble. As all Sarika has to do is keep her distance, and you're fighting with like an awkward weight, right? I don't know if the D swords actually weigh anything. But still, you're fighting like with a very awkward weapon that you attack at like 90-degree angles with directly. And she just like pokes you with it. Pretty risky. As she can make really long sweeps. And isn't necessarily encumbered. I assume they weigh nothing. I'd vastly prefer the regular ass... I'd vastly prefer the sword over like the weird reverse grip. Sarika leapt off the ground. The distance between them closed in an instant. Karuse brought her own sword down as hard as she could without even time to follow her movements. And as she screamed,
ごめんね。
I'm sorry. He could hear her voice. By the time she realized she was talking to Takuru, it was already too late. The light flashed in front of her as if driving the thought from her mind. Why, Sarika? The same thought kept going through my head like I was an idiot. And this guy's just running onto the scene with a telepath who could be doing literally anything. This is literally the dumbest thing you could do. I couldn't think. Why? What was she doing at a murder scene? Damn it, the saliva caught in my throat as I moaned in pain. It took a lot of effort to keep myself from falling over. I didn't have time to waste here. Huh? I stopped as I heard a sound. I was in front of a familiar place, but it wasn't the one I'd been coming to. I was on my way from Alba Dorm to Sarika's condo in Daikayama? What was that? I saw something strange in the corner of my eye and looked up at the school building. A school at night was an imposing sight, and on top, I could see a feeble light like a fluorescent bulb that was about to burn out. I started to run, dragging my feet forward as I went. I raced up the stairs to the building without even bothering to take off my shoes. The lights in the yard illuminated my face with a certain rhythm as I ran. But that light was something different. The strange, dull light. The light of a D-sword. Yep. I made it to the top of the stairs and slammed straight into the door. I yanked it open, trying my best not to think about what I'd find beyond. The first thing I saw wasn't the light of the D-sword, but the red. My heart beat loudly once, and then all was silence. I didn't feel anything at all. It was as if I'd totally frozen at what I'd seen. She was lying on the ground in front of me. Her clothes were red. Someone was in front of her, looking over their shoulder at me. No, not someone. I knew her. But she looked different than I'd ever seen before. And the deadly weapon in her hands made me shiver. That weapon was deeply, deeply... A strong wind blew towards the open door. And again, we didn't call Shinjo. We just ran off. We didn't... Oh, man. I don't even... I'm sorry that Nono had to die, but you are a fucking idiot, Takeru. Alright. Have you ever considered that cars move faster than people can run? And that Shinjo is literally on call for, like, you being murdered, so he's probably in the area already? If you're like, I need to go to the fucking school and save someone, or go find Sarika, or, like, literally anything. Whatever. Oh well. Guys with guns, much more useful. Draw sword, pew pew, done. Anyway, a strong wind blew towards the open door. It was as if someone was trying to push me back in, as if they were trying to get me away from the threat in front of me. She'll kill you too. Run away, now. Was the voice I heard an illusion? Or was it the person I cared about? Suddenly, all sound disappeared. My head hurt like hell, but I ignored it. All the doubts I'd had, all the feelings that had told me it was a lie, I left them all behind me. Behind? It was only when I saw the distance between us that was closing rapidly, I realized I had started running. A meaningless scream poured from my throat. I could tell from the way my throat was vibrating, but I couldn't hear the sound at all. I mean, let's be honest. You're pretty good at, you're pretty bad at actually attacking people, so let's see. What do you got? I kept running, but everything seemed to be passing by in slow motion. I felt a pulsing in my brain. My hand reached out for nothing at all. Until now, I'd never been able to touch it, but now I could grab it easily. What was I touching? What was I holding? Some fragment of useless rationality still within me asking these stupid questions? Okay, you have your sword. The first thing you should do, force choke. Please, force choke. Just force try it. Actually, don't be stupid. Force crush. Crush your head. Be done. Crush any of the useful internal organs in her body the minute you get your powers. Start with the fucking force. This is literally, you're literally, like, I don't know if the telepath can instantly kill you, but for certain, even if you could only crush things, you can just crush the insides of her brain, okay? She'll die in seconds. You don't need to have a lot of force to do that, right? Crush her windpipe, that's about like the strength of an elbow strike, which you can probably do. You don't need a lot of precision, just a general punch. Just a general magic punch should do the trick. Or, you know, a nice eye gouge. I don't think he has the precision for that, though, so I'm aiming for something that's really big. Neck. Visibly a nice target. So are the eyes, but they're really small. I don't know how precise he is, but come on. He's gonna go for swinging with the sword, which is kind of funny. A telekinetic should just instantly, like, go for, like, a hit or throwing something at someone. But he... Alright, I was holding a thing that was gonna slice her apart. My own delusions made manifest by real booting. A twisted blade that weighed nothing at all. There you go, it weighs nothing. When I swung the D-sword, I was more than close enough to hit her. She'd already turned around and raised her D-sword up from below. Why did she have a sword too? I didn't know. Before I could think about it, I brought down my weapon with all my strength. Sarika blocked it without making a sound. No, that wasn't right. My D-sword stopped before she could block it, right before it would hit her. What's wrong? I heard a voice I'd never heard before, and I saw a look I'd never seen before. The swords are ugly, and our character can't bring himself to kill someone who's killed like half his family. What a guy. Alright, I couldn't move. He hadn't done anything to me. There was no mind control. I was the one in control. The size and forms are quite useless. I'll be honest, at least the other swords, I could believe are a sword. I have no fucking clue about Nono's sword, though. That thing is, like, the most useless... Like, you could sort of imagine... It's a fantasy material, so we don't care about, like, what the material science is behind it. It might be, like, infinitely durable. It's also, like... But, like... I don't see how you could use it as a weapon. These other ones, at least they sort of cut. If they weigh literally zero... If they weigh zero, I mean, there's obviously problems with, like, swinging a sword that weighs literally nothing, because you can't... I don't know if they damage anything other than people, but hey. I don't know about Nono's sword. That was pretty terrible. As long as it more or less has the shape of a sword, you're kind of okay, right? Like, it's a magic sword. It just auto-cuts everything. As long as it's kind of like a pointy stick, you're kind of... As long as it's vaguely stick-shaped, you're okay. The minute it's like some awkward, crooked tree branch that you can't point at someone directly, you're in a lot of trouble. Alright, so, your hands had stopped as if they'd struck an invisible wall. Why? Why? You're not going to come? Why couldn't I move? Why wouldn't my arms, my legs? Like, she literally... Okay, so if we go with this, she literally, like, dismembered your sister and put her on display for you and mind-controlled your friend into doing it, and you're like, man, that's, like, moderately unfortunate. And now she's, like, cut down your other sister, and you're like, man, I don't even want to stop her. I just want to yell at her. Okay. Okay, buddy. Mr. No Survival Instincts, demonstrating it. So, if she feels like she kills him, if not, she walks away and, goes on her merry way, because you're not even going to call the police either, right? When you, like, suspected Sarika, so they won't know. They'll just know that the two of you got murdered by the, murderer and move on. My feelings caught up to me. My reason came back, and my heart finally started to scream. Can't be happening, it can't. Why would Sarika do this? It can't be real. The pounding headache I'd forgotten came back as I fell to my knees. Perfect, the pounding headache of her mind controlling you. My head felt like it was going to split. I grabbed it with both hands. At some point my D-sword disappeared. The will I tried to strike Sarika with was already gone. I dug my nails in and closed my eyes. I could feel the veins in my forehead with my hands. I felt something sticky on my knees, and I smelled a mild perfume. It was the same as before when my little sister had been killed and ripped apart. I can't, it's happening again. It was the blood of someone who was every bit as important to me as my little sister, Nono Cruz. And this is your reaction. Good job, man. Who had done this? Who had come at her with a blade and cold eyes? Mr. Survival Instincts here. Keep going, buddy. I can tell you, it can't be a no way. I tried to use my rage to drive it away, but I couldn't. Oh look, she's coughing. She's like coughing up her dying breath, and you're just like, oh, damn shame, you're gonna bleed out here. I'll just relax and have another panic attack. I heard a wordless voice. I forced my eyes to open. Sarika was already gone. I looked around with blurry eyes, but there was no light from the D-sword, no sign of her at all. I crawled over to Karus. Oh no, Karus is dying! Oh no! Why do you care? You literally just, like, stood there and let Sarika just, like... You literally just watch people. Like, come on, man. I would, like, make up your damn mind. It's hard to feel sorry for her. He literally doesn't even care enough to stop the killer. He's like, oh... Well, okay. You killed her. Oh, that's a damn shame. Again, we've like, alright, man. She was crying. Big tears fell silently from her unlit eyes. I also don't know why Karus never questioned the fact that she wasn't actually in the basement with her and like a bunch of other things, but... So I'm not feeling too bad for Karus when it's like, oh... The killer is... We know the killer's one of those three, and Karus never even questions why Sarika didn't exist until, like, post-earthquake when he woke up. And, like, fabricated a whole ton of memories. That's pretty sketchy when you know the person's a telepath, and you're like, someone fabricated the memories of Anoe. Come on, man. Her chest was stained red, and each time she breathed, more blood came out. This is like one of those weird scenes where you're like, the game wants me to feel sad, but I'm having a hard time sympathizing with all the poor decisions people made. Karus is a complete idiot. Karus is like a complete idiot here for dying, and this guy's a complete idiot for letting the person who killed her walk free. Like, how do I feel bad if she dies? She 100% died on her own, chose her own demise, and, like, just decided not to help actually impede the investigation. Because knowing that you are fighting a telepath, saying, oh, this person... Oh, that's weird. Literally nobody has ever heard of Sarika until, like, the day she showed up after you woke out of a coma. Is kind of sus. But you never said, oh, I know for a fact that's not true. You're just like, yeah, okay. Fabricated memories. Seems good. Especially now. Ugh. Like, yeah, okay. I don't know why you went to get yourself killed. This doesn't really solve anything, but okay. Like, okay, how does this solve anything? Because our character knows it's either himself. If she dies, he knows it's either Sarika or himself. And he might tell the cops and be like, it's one of us. I don't know which one. It's not me, so I want to say it's Sarika, but like... It doesn't to make too much sense. Oh, well. Like, she isn't leading him away. So why is she dying? She's not leading us away from the truth. She's not leading us away from the truth so we don't live a happily ever after with Sarika. She's just going to her presumed death and, like, dying for basically no reason. It's kind of weird. Oh well. Alright. Cruz. I pushed my hands up against her wounds. It was the first time I left I touched a girl's chest. It was so soft, but the dark, sticky liquid kept pouring out and staining my hands red. Somebody. I don't know what to do at a time like this. How can I save her? She was going to suffocate. Use your telekinesis to hold her entire body together so she doesn't bleed out. That is a thing you could do. It would be an epic feat, as you'd have to map all her blood veins correctly until they recovered, but that would be cool. As she started to cough, I put my hand behind her head and quickly turned it to the side. Blood poured from her mouth and fell onto the ground. Talk, dude. Don't talk, it's okay. I tried my best to hold the wound closed. Okay, how was this okay? She was bleeding so much. She was in so much pain. Sakura. I told you not to talk. Sakura's face was twisted as she started to cry again, and... She suddenly grabbed the hand that was on her chest. Her grip was so weak, in that moment I felt an indescribable chill in my heart. Come on, grab tighter, be stronger. It's like you're gonna die. Her breathing was getting so shallow she couldn't speak. She tried to grab my hand and bring it next to her head. No, I need to keep the wound closed. It looked like she shook her head just a little, and then slowly brought my hand to her face and put it to her lips. The red from my fingers clung to her purple lips and shone like beautiful gloss. The sensation on my fingers was soft but terribly cold, and then I knew. Yeah, she was going to die after. It can't happen. It can't. I'm sorry. Her hand moved away from mine and fell to the ground. No. The name fell from my lips. It was the first time I'd said it in half a year. No, come on. It was the name of my big sister who'd always protected me. Wake up, No. I lifted her up and held her tightly in my arms. She didn't move at all. Why? How can this be happening? Come on, No. I called her name again and again, knowing that from now on she would never answer me. At some point, midnight passed and it was November 4th. The last of the return of New Generation Madness murders had occurred right before my eyes. We have received an extremely unusual announcement from the police, and a warrant for the arrest of a minor issued under their real name. 現在東京都渋谷区で起こっている一連の猟奇事件の重要参考人として The announcement says, as of 12:30 a.m. today, November 4th, the police issued a warrant for the person of interest in the series of murders that occurred in Shibuya Ward, Tokyo. That should be like a dead or alive warrant and not a regular ass warrant because she's a telepath and will mind rape anyone who goes after her if she feels like. In fact, it should be better dead than alive. Not saying because we want her dead because she, like, kill bad guys, but, like, realistically, any police officer has literally no chance against her unless they blow her brains out. And since she's already walked away, the odds they can get her are, like, practically zero. She can just alter minds. This is, like, a pretty dumb idea. Honestly, like, letting someone like this walk free is really risky for Takuri, but alright. This is a national arrest. This is, like, really dumb if you want anything to happen. A national arrest warrant for Takuri Mishiro, third-year student at Hekio Academy. I lost my balance and fell over. I couldn't use my hands to break my fall, so a sharp pain raced through my shoulder instead. Some ashes got into my mouth, too. I tried to get up, but the weight and warmth of my back wouldn't let me. Sarika hadn't woken up for a while. She was breathing. I could feel the beating of her heart. She was fine. I could taste blood as well as ash. I must have cut my lip when I fell. Damn it. I somehow managed to stand up without dropping Sarika, cursing at it I did. I couldn't stay lying on the ground here. My goal, AH Tokyo General and Yoyogi, was a long way away. It was fine, I would get there no matter what. Either Sarika and I were gonna die here. Hey, this way, come on. I saw people crowding around what probably used to be a store. I heard what sounded like someone calling for help and someone else saying they'd brought water from a broken vending machine. It was evidently being used as a temporary shelter. Should I stop? I was thirsty, I wanted water, but I couldn't. That wasn't my priority, I knew that. I had lots of scrapes and small cuts, but none of my wounds were fatal. In an emergency like this, the most important thing wasn't water or food, it was finding a safe place. I learned that on the internet one time. And since I didn't know what was wrong with Sarika, she needed a specialist to look at her. There was no telling what might happen here in Shibuya, but it was better to head to AH General in Yogi. That's right, I'm a right-sider. That makes me better than wrong-siders who are staying here. I ignored them and passed by. I licked the back of my cuspids so that my body would make more saliva and I'd feel less thirsty. That was another trick I learned. I wasn't ignorant like the rest of these people. It says cuspids, yeah. Is this okay? Okay, press down here. Something seemed strange. I suddenly realized I knew some of the voices from the shelter. Oh. I looked and saw they belonged to my classmates. I almost never went to school, but I vaguely recognized a few members of the group. There was an adult woman lying on the ground, but in between them. There was blood coming out of her stomach and head. My heart skipped a beat. That is a roll first aid or medica check, if I've ever seen one. I just barely managed to stop myself from falling over. My classmates seemed to be trying to save her. They were each taking turns holding down her injuries, not caring their hands would be covered with blood. Why? Why are you doing that? All you ever do is talk about stupid crap and you never listen to me. Why aren't you panicking? You guys don't know anything, right? About priorities or cuspids? Why aren't you screaming? Why aren't you running? How are you so calm? You never did anything useful with your time. You can't even use the internet. All of your information is low quality. Miyashiro, is that you, Miyashiro? One of them saw me and ran over. Then he started to ask if I had water, if I was alright, if I could help. Each new question came before I had a chance to answer the last one. I'd seen his face, but I didn't know his name. How did he know my name? How could he remember it at a time like this? The word got stuck in my throat, and I couldn't get it out. I didn't even know what I was trying to ask. Of course, do you want to just let her die? I didn't know how he interpreted my response, but he suddenly started yelling. And he grabbed my arm and told me to come with him. Wait. The woman's hurt. I have to save her. No, I have to get to AH General. I saw lots of injured people on the way here. That's right, this place is dangerous. My top priority is finding someplace safe. That was what my information told me. No matter how hard he pulled, I didn't move. Nothing moved, actually. It felt like I was outside my body watching him pull it. Why wasn't I moving? Was I scared? Of course I was scared. If she was hurt, I should help. Like my classmates were. Wait, I wasn't like them, right? I was a right sider. They were doing the right thing. I should help them? I couldn't move. What should I do? Forget it. You're a useless piece of shit. Get lost. He spat out the words as he let go of my arm. He ran back to his friends, and they all started taking turns pressing down on her injuries again. He whispered something to them, and they all looked at me for a moment. Disgust in their eyes. Their eyes said more than words ever could. I hope I never end up like him, they said. The next thing I knew, I was running. Not because I had to get to the hospital, because I wanted to get away. I don't remember where I ran. Each time someone lying on the ground begged me for help, I ran faster in a different direction. I closed my eyes so I couldn't see anything, and then tripped. I held my ears so I couldn't hear anything. My body was shaking. I felt coldness pressing in from all around me like I'd never felt before. Why was I running? I was the right sider, but they were learning about useless nonsense. I was becoming smarter than them. I should be the one looking down on them. That's right, that's right. I knew lots of things they didn't. I should go back and tell them what to do. Were they treating her injuries right? Were they doing it in the right order? I could make the right decisions. Yet here you are running somewhere, don't know where. I was very surprised when I saw who'd just spoken to me. It was my mom and dad.
お前、なんでここに
What are you doing here? Only then did I realize where I was. It was the shelter outside AH Tokyo. I'd made it.
まあいい、行くぞ。ダメだ、この病院は。
Doesn't matter, let's go. This hospital's no good. Dad motioned to Mom and I to keep moving.
どうしてよ。さっきここなら安全だって誰かが。
Someone just said this place was safe.
受け入れでパンクしてる。それよりもっと離れた方がいい。いつ余震が来るかわからない。
Overlooked. And anyway, we need to get further away. There's no telling when the aftershocks are
下
hit.
の方がほとんど被害がないってのは本当みたいだ。ここからだと会社が近い。そこの車を使おう。
Looks like there isn't much damage to the north. Company buildings nearby. Let's use the car then. What? I didn't hear anything about that.
タクル、何してるの？早く。
Tucker, what are you doing? Hurry. When she grabbed my arm, the sensation from earlier came back and I shook her off.
タクル？なんなの？こんな時まで迷惑かけないで。助かるのよ。
Tucker, what are you doing? Don't start causing problems again. You're saved. Saved?
僕は助かる。
I'm saved?
いいから早く。
Just come with me. Mom screamed and pulled me along behind her as she followed Dad. I went too, my legs moving as if they weren't my own.
助かるって。
Saved? From the hell I'd just seen, I was saved? By people who never cared about me before? There was a sharp pain in my head. I shook off her arm. My mom was screaming, but I didn't know what she said. I couldn't hear. My head hurt and I didn't know why. My vision started to blur. I could feel my body starting to go numb, my nails digging into my head, but I couldn't feel them. I tried to think through the pain. Saved me. Why? These people had always neglected me. Now they were going to save me? Why? You two just happened to find me here, which means you're going to leave me, right? You ignored me for so long and now you're going to save me? Am I supposed to accept that? A pain shot through my temples like I was being stabbed with something sharp. No, no. That wasn't what you were supposed to say. This isn't what was supposed to happen to me. This isn't the information I'm supposed to get. All the wrong siders in class were doing the right thing and looking down on me. I'm a right sider. I'm the person who knows what to do. And then when everything goes wrong, he doesn't seem to know. Anyway. Seems to have been like the wrong idea. Anyway. I'm not like those preening jackasses online. I actually went on a dangerous adventure and they looked at me like I was less valuable than some random meme and joke site. Didn't you just go into a hospital? Imagine breaking into a... Imagine walking into a public building and thinking that it's like the most dangerous thing you've ever done. I mean, or sorry, thinking it's actually dangerous, not thinking it's the most dangerous thing you've ever done. And now you people are gonna save me? You are the people who gave me 1,000 yen instead of taking me out to dinner on my birthday? Damn, I don't know what's more pathetic. The fact that he only got 1,000 yen or the fact they didn't have time to take him out to dinner or spend any time with him on his birthday. Both of those fucking suck, but that's like giving someone $10. Imagine like you don't even get enough. Imagine your parents, like you don't even get enough as a kid on your birthday to buy yourself a dinner. Like dinner's like 1,500 yen. You can buy like a cheap bowl of ramen for like 1,000. It's like, I can't afford the drink, I'm sorry. Like, entertain yourself for the rest of the year on 1,000 yen. Alright. Good luck, buddy. Hell no. I'm not the kind of person who gets saved by parents who don't want him. I like how they didn't translate that. Shut up, you're the ones who are in the way. What can I do? What do I want to do? Why am I here? I thought of my childhood friend. That's right, where was Sarika? I'd come here to save Sarika. I couldn't feel her on my back through the pain in my head. That's right, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm saving someone's life. Sarika will understand that. She always tells me I'm right. She always understands what I have to do. The pain went beyond my capacity to endure it. My whole field of vision went white. Shut up, you people should just go away forever. Oh no way. Sarika, save me. Please, please.
おのえお願いだから僕に
Anyway, please give me. Sarika Onoe. Alright.
依然として重要参考人である宮代拓君の情報は入ってきておりません。
We have no updates on the person of interest in the case Takuru Miyashiro.
なお未成年の実名を明かした上で指名手配に踏み切った理由ですが、警察側は事件の重要性を鑑みての判断と発表しており、
The police said their reason for issuing a warrant that reveals a minor's real name was the grave importance of this case. I woke up with a dull ache in my head and an unpleasant sound in my ears. It must have been sweating. My clothes were wet and sticky. Where am I? Ah, we're in the office. Oh. I'd never seen this ceiling or smelled these smells before, but then I remembered. This is Frisia Mimosa's company. I didn't feel like I'd slept at all. I put my hands on the cushions of the sofa I'd been lying on and slowly sat up. After what had happened, when the last moments of the dream came flashing back to me, I looked at my hands. I could still feel the sensation of her motionless but still warm and living body. My hands were shaking, but they were the color of human skin. Back then, they'd been stained dark red. Stained with no-nos. Why?
大丈夫
Are you okay?
あ、
Armor was sitting on the sofa across from me. She winced when she looked at me.
すいません。大丈夫なわけないですよね。
I like how our character has literally failed. I like how our main character has literally failed to take action at like every single crucial junction in his life. Every single critical moment in this story so far, he's like completely flubbed by doing nothing. I'm curious to see if at the next critical juncture, because the story's not over. Presumably, we started a new chapter that wasn't titled Epilogue. If he actually does something, or if he just stands there and someone else solves it for him again. Alright.
コーヒーでも入れます？
I'll go make some coffee or something. She stood up. Yeah, I'd walk out too. That's pretty fucking awkward. I didn't want any. I didn't feel like eating or drinking anything. But I couldn't even muster the energy to refuse. That's how exhausted I was.
法務省人権擁護局や弁護士連合会、また各種人権団体も今回の実名報道に関しては事実上黙認と取れる声明を発表しており、
The government, Human Rights Department, Lawyers Federation, and all major nonprofits have given their tacit assent to the use of the boy's real name.
世論も肯定的な方向に傾きつつあります。
Public opinion, by and large, agrees with them.
まるで6年前と同じだわね。
Just like what happened 6 years ago.
西条匠ですか？
You mean with Takumi Nishijo?
ええ。ニュージェネレーションの狂気の犯人として祭り上げられ、それを覆して一躍有名人になったあの子。
They said he was the main suspect behind New Generation Madness, but he proved them wrong and became famous. Kunasato and Momose were talking in front of the TV. The people on TV were still saying I was the one behind the killings. It didn't seem real. When they said my name, it felt like they were referring to some other Takuru Miyashiro who lived somewhere else in the world. Momose looked over at me.
おはよう。
Good morning. I tried to healing back, but the words got caught in my throat. It felt like if I said something, all the feelings bottled up inside me would come pouring out at once.
新庄ちゃんから連絡があったわ。報道では重要参考人になってるけど、なぜか警察はあなたを一連の事件の主犯と断定したみたい。
Shinjo got in touch with me. He said the news is calling you a POI, but for some reason the police decided you're the mastermind behind the crimes. What a coincidence. Sarika's a telepath. All she has to do is get in contact with literally one police officer, and your entire party is fucked. I'm not really surprised, I'm completely honest. Like, you completely flubbed that. You're like, okay, I'm gonna reveal who the criminal is by confronting them. Either you kill them, or you're like really fucked. But our protagonist didn't even bother to do any of that. He's like, I'm confronting a telepath. So did Nono though. Guess it doesn't matter. Like shit, man, if you're gonna run into evil Professor X, you have to understand to take you have to think of taking some precautions. At the very least, telling other people so they have to at least mind control like 500 other people is probably like the most basic safeguard. You're like, the truth is, I think this person's the killer. And I think this person's going to die. Ooh, don't want to make a phone call. Sucks to be you.
クルス・ノノを殺害した犯人として
Including the death of Nono. Yep. I think they should just hand you over at this point.
クルス・ノノの司
I'm
法
with
解
Kunisada.
剖記録を極秘で回してもらったが
He managed to get me Nono Carusa's top secret autopsy report, and it looks very bad for you.
多分捏造でしょうね。そもそも正規の手続きすら踏まれていないから。
It's probably all fake. They haven't even gone through the right legal channels. Autopsy report? I couldn't process the phase. I heard it, but it didn't make sense. You know, every minute this character is like every minute this character is useless, he sabotages himself more. It's almost like ironic. That's why it's like so hard to be attached to Nono's death when you're like, there are so many stupid factors that went into this death. Like I can't actually connect to it. And this character doing nothing here is also there. It's like, alright. This is like the fourth time you've predicted you would walk in on someone being dead. And you were like, oh, well, they're dead. I need to be in shock for 2 hours before I do anything. Alright.
お前がここにいることはまだバレていない
Please don't know you're here at Frisia. They're searching around Hekio Academy in Albador. Please tell me Takuru Miyashiro goes to jail and gets the death penalty. That would be hilarious. God, hilarious. Their voices got further away. I could tell they were saying something to me, but I couldn't figure out what. I'd really like his inaction to cost him more. It's kind of like I don't feel attached to it. No, but it was really. It's like I don't like the emotional tone in the song because it's like really hard to communicate how irritated you are at how they're playing sad music when you should be like playing a laugh track. Like, okay, it's playing with my emotions. We're out of the sad music. We're out of the ultra sad music and tone and dialogue. So I'll give my blurb now, where it's like, I don't feel bad that Nono's dead because she's a moron, and I don't feel bad that this guy is supposedly in shock because like he deserves basically everything that's come to him, including this. Like the amount of stupid shit he's done that he probably deserved to get horrendously punished for is there. The fact that he's not dead yet is the miracle, but it looks like Sarika doesn't actually want him dead, which is kind of amusing. It'd be pretty easy to make him suffer this much. How much more will she take before she's caught? I guess we'll find out. They should be giving me information about what's happening to me right now. Information? Why would it help? Help with what? What would it help me solve? No matter what I do, it's too late. Kunisada slammed her hand down on the desk. I looked up, surprised.
どうなんだ
Well,
心当た
do
り
you
は
have
ない
any
のか
idea? Idea about what?
尾上セリカが行きそうな場所に心当たりはないのかと聞い
Any
てい
idea
る
where Sarika Ono might go? Literally anywhere. She's a telepath. She can mind rape people and steal their apartment. What the fuck do you want me to say?
あなたが丸一日眠っている間にね、新庄ちゃんと一緒に彼女の自宅に踏み込んだのよ。
In the last day while you've been asleep, way to be useless. Again, a telepath who can literally wipe people's minds, and you're like, I'll ask the stupid question, do you know anything? I feel like Kunisado knows this is going to be like the most useless question on the planet, but she'll ask anyway. It's like when someone murders your family and you're like, do you know who the killer might be? And you're like, I don't know. It's like, well, I had to ask in the off chance it worked, but you know, we know it's not going to happen. Oh wait, that's exactly what happened. Alright. Like, do you know where the killer is? No. Alright. While you were asleep, we went to her place. No one was there. Day? So today is November
部
5th.
屋にあった PC からデータをコピーして持ち出したんだけど、結局手がかりなし。
We took the data off her computer and copied it, but didn't find any clues. We have no idea where she could have gone. Like, for all you know, she's already left the country now that her name's out. She can literally just mind control people to get past airport security in like 5 seconds. How is that hard? Like, mind control someone. I need to borrow this ID. I'm your best friend. Thanks. I need to borrow the ticket. Awesome. Go to the person. You're not this person. Yes, I am. Jedi mind trick them. Move on. Like, that's like 5 minutes. She's already left the country if she cared. For free, by the way.
しかもあなたが犯人と断定されてしまったものだから、いくら新庄ちゃんが頑張っても彼女を公に捜査することができなくなった。
Now that it's been decided you're the criminal, even Shinjo can't use official research for. So our character literally spent a day literally doing nothing. Oh my god, what an absolute papega. Please tell me he gets sentenced to death. Please. I'd like to see it. I know it's not gonna happen. The police are acting strange. Someone set a trap and we walked right into it. Someone set a trap and we walked into it. Wow, that's a surprise. You try to be smart, but I feel like Takuru sabotaged us pretty hard.
こうなると手がかりはお前だけだ。尾上セリカと幼馴染だったのなら
This means you're our only clue. You're Sarika's childhood friend. You must have some idea, right? We're not actually friends. She literally mind controlled me into thinking that. You should probably say that. Ooh. Oh, okay, good line, buddy. Sarika's childhood friend. Yeah, that's right. Sarika's my childhood friend. She's always with me since we were little. We did everything together. So why would Sarika... Kunosada grabbed me and pulled me close enough that I could feel her breath on my face.
いい加減にしろ。せっかくのチャンスを無駄にさせる気か。
Stop screwing around. This is our chance. Do you want to waste it?
ずっと探してきたギガロマニアックスのシリアルキラーがようやく正体を見せたんだ。
We finally know who the serial killer is. If we can find her, we can be able to find them.
いい加減にしてください。
Enough. A loud voice echoed off the walls of the room. I thought Ayamura had gone to make coffee, but at some point she'd walked over to me and started to glare at Kunosada.
妹さんに続いてクルス先輩をお姉さんを亡くしたばかりなんですよ。それなのに。
I like that Arimura is kind of on her side. Alright, thanks Arimura. You're being sympathetic, more sympathetic than I am. But maybe it's because to you he's a real person, and to me he's a character who's a complete moron. Alright, first he lost his younger sister, now he lost his older sister Karus, and yet you're still... Yeah, but that's because all of... Well... It's like he lost Nono because of his own foolishness. Oh well. But how long did it take us to figure out that it was the audio? Literally 1 second, right? We walked in there, the headphones were loud, and we're like, holy shit, it must be something she heard. And he's like... he's like, it's not that. And then he's calling her after she's ignoring him. Like, you know, after 10 calls, maybe stop. And like focus on something else. And then we get there and he just lets her walk away and do whatever she wants for a full day because he's depressed. It's like, you have a telepath who wants to fuck with you. You gotta do something about that. If you're not gonna kill her real quick, it's gonna end real bad. Come to think of it, she'd been really worried about Karus, so I promised I'd find her. So why did this happen? She glanced at me for an instant and her lips were... I mean, Arimura also decided to literally not help you with anything, but I don't know. She doesn't seem to... At least she seems to know she's not the kind of person who can do useful things. Like I'm not useful, I'm gonna get out of the way sometimes. If I'm not useful, I'm gonna get out of the way. That seems like an alright plan. Oh, it would have been nice if she like volunteered to help, but still. Can you be more sensitive? I wouldn't be sensitive. I'm with Kunosada. Don't be sensitive. This guy's an idiot. Never changed, do you? If successive runs of this let you pick someone, we're picking Arimura first. Whenever someone's siblings involved, you get testy. Arimura swallowed her words as if she'd been stabbed. She clenched her fists tight as if trying to stop herself from doing something she might regret.
お前たちギガロマニアックスは入ってないんだよ。
There are very few people capable of being nice to you, and unfortunately, you gigglomaniacs aren't included. Kunosato let go of me and spoke, her voice as cold as ever.
最低。
You're a horrible person.
お前相手に嘘をついても仕方がない。私は犯人を捕まえて、その裏にあるものを暴き出せればそれでいいんだ。
There's no point lying to you. All I want to do is find the killer and whoever's behind them.
だからって。
Still. Armor's phone vibrated in her pocket. She looked annoyed when she took it out, but her expression changed when she saw the screen. She tapped the screen and put the phone up to her ear.
もしもし、ウキ？
Hello, Uki?
大丈
Is
夫？
everything okay? Yeah, I see.
うん。
Okay.
うん。そっか。
Wait a moment. First put
あ、
Hannah.
ちょっと待って。その前に花に代わって。
Uki? Hana? Come to think of it, where were they now? Was something terrible happening to them because of me? I mean, maybe you didn't really decide to do anything. You made like a really big gamble deciding to do nothing for a day and let them do whatever they wanted, and letting them go free after killing your sister. That's pretty rough. Arimori was speaking crisply and clearly into the phone while I was still struggling to even think. He reminded me a lot of Karus.
花、聞いてるよね。こっちはまだ動きようがないの。だから、そのままウキとユウト君についててあげて。
Hannah, you're listening, right? We're still stuck here. Stay with Uki and Yuto, okay?
ユウト君もだけど、ウキ、かなり参ってるから。
Yuto's in bad shape, but so is Uki. Alright, I almost forgot. Their horribly traumatized younger brother, who is probably triply traumatized, who was doubly traumatized by Yui's death, and is probably triply traumatized now that Nono's gone too. Good thing we let her run rampant for another day. That's great. Just let her go free, buddy.
じゃあ、
I'd like to see things from Sarika's perspective. We could go like full Invisible Man for 5 minutes. That'd be cool. I wonder if we'll get that. Alright, put Uki on for me. And she handed me the phone.
宮代先輩の声。
She says she wants to hear your voice. Say
何
something.
か話してあげてください。
Okay. I took the phone and gently put it to my ear. Hello?
タクルさんですか？ウキです。
Takuru, it's Uki. Her voice was even weaker than usual. I could hear a tiny noise behind her. I'm sorry, Uki. It's my fault.
いえ、私は大丈夫です。
Fine, but there's
マス
so
コ
many
ミの
people
人
from the
が
media, and the police are here. They searched your room, and Nono's too.
警察の人が来て、タクルさんの部屋やそのノノさんの部屋をいろいろ探していて。
This is the Arimura route? Really? Well, shit. Alright.
それに先生がどこかへ行ったっきり帰ってこなくて。
Shit, then I don't have another route I want to do.
どうすればいい
Is
の
there
か。
is there a Kunosato route then? We certainly haven't gotten any choices in like the last couple videos. Doctor went somewhere and hasn't come back. I don't know what to do. Dad hasn't come back? Were the police still questioning him? I'm really sorry. Oh, no.
私こそ
I'm
すい
sorry.
ません。
I heard a tiny sniffle on the other end.
タクルさんの方が大変なのに、私しっかりしなきゃいけませんよね。今は私がユウト君のお姉さんなんだから。
I know things are worse for you than me, so I have to stay strong, don't I? I'm Yuto's big sister. Her voice was strong, but I could still hear the tears.
宮代先輩、そろそろ。青葉
That's
寮
the
にいる
dad
警官
missing.
が
Is the
顔を
dad
聞きつけた
dead,
ら
or
ま
was
ずい
he
です。
working with...
バレます。
Well, Kunosato is a genius, so I assume she knows how to read brain scans. So I'm assuming Because she actually did look at the brain scan thing, so I'm assuming the dad's either mind controlled or... Well, it's either the dad and Kunisada, or neither of them were mind controlled and there was no problems. I don't know where he's disappeared. He might be dead. Who knows? You sure it's time to hang up? If the police in Albadorm hear her, they'll know where you are. Arimura took the phone from me. She talked with Uki a little while more and then hung up. I couldn't forget the sound of Uki's tears. Then I finally realized all I'd done was apologize. I hadn't said anything to make her feel better. My home, Albadorm, was being ripped apart by cops looking for clues. I can imagine Uki and Yuto there, sobbing and not knowing what to do. I have to go. The next thing I knew, I was staggering forward. I got off the sofa and headed for the front door.
Miyashiro-senpai?
You've literally said, oh yeah, he doesn't talk to people, right? Chris was gone, so was Yui. I had to be there, or Uki and Yuto. My hand touched the doorknob. And I slowly opened the door. Everything started to feel less and less real, and I watched my body move like a character in a movie.
Miyashiro-chan?
You sure?
どこへ行くつもりだ?
Where are you going? To Albadorm. But don't go quick, Uki and Yuto.
待ってください。外へ出ちゃダメです。
You can't go outside. Arimura grabbed my arm.
報道ではまだ写真は出てませんけど、ネットにはあちこちに顔写真が貼られてしまってるんです。
News hasn't shown your picture yet, but the people on the net have it.
話してくれ。
Let me go. Please tell me he cuts her arm off or something. That would be great. Arimura screamed and her hand was knocked away. It was only when I saw the look of shock on her face I realized I used my power. I could see the D-sword. The symbol of my useless power which couldn't protect the girl you loved. Yeah?
なんだよ。こんなもの。
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it has nothing to do with your power and everything to do with you. Your power is actually really good for one-shotting people. Your power is good for one-shotting people, and I mean, you had an okay sword. I feel sorry for Karusu who got, like, shafted in terms of sword. I need a drink, one sec. Damn it. We don't even know what Karusu's power was, so it's probably completely useless and non-combat related, so she's, like, super screwed. The telepathy and telekinesis, though, you can really fuck with people. As long as you... I mean, telekinesis is pretty straightforward. Even if it's low level, you can throw pots and pans at people, which is fucking annoying. Or, you know, knives. Knives works. Perfectly accurate knives, real handy. Knives from unexpected angles, also handy. I mean, he's already done that with cans, and cans weigh more than knives, most of the time. Damn it! The guilt is exquisite. The guilt that the taste of his guilt is amazing. Great job. My body started running on its own. Miyashiro, my body started running its own. I ran into Frisia without knowing what would happen if I left. Please tell me something bad happens again. I want to see the next bad thing. I hadn't run far, but my muscles were starting to scream. I couldn't stop moving. Things in front of the train station were the same as ever. Nobody noticed me. There was a picture of my face out there, right? Why didn't anyone notice me? I didn't understand. Had it all really happened? Or did everyone here not know what happened yesterday night? Most people don't care. I have to get back. I have to get back to Albadorm. Back to the door. The police were at Albadorm ripping apart the place I loved. They decided I was the killer and even searched Nono's room. Why? Why is he mad or frustrated? Dude, you like exposed a telepathic assassin. She's going to fuck you. Like, she's been, this entire, like, 3-month span is her trying to drive you to despair or insanity, because clearly she could kill you at any time. She's trying to fuck you as hard as possible, and you gave her, after exposing her, you gave her a full day to do whatever the fuck she wanted. That is like the dumbest thing imaginable, Takaru. Don't even ask why. Just be stupid. Just stop being stupid. Alright, that night I asked Shinjo to let me take Nono's body to the hospital. My memory's cut out after that. I could only remember a few things. I remember being taken to Frisia and screaming and sobbing there. And that's right. That's when I'd heard in the news I was wanted as a POI in the case. God damn it. Momosa had given me something to drink and some medicine. It was probably a sleeping pill or something, to calm me down, to keep me quiet. I didn't want to sleep. Because Karu's the one I loved was dead. It was Sarika, oh no, my childhood friend who killed her. How could I sleep? But I'd spent the whole day on a sofa asleep. Like a useless couch potato. Like the useless couch potato you are, sleeping 12 hours. Good job, man. Or, sorry, a full 24 hours, so like 36 hours, because it was like midnight when she died, so he slept 36 hours at the least, right? Because it's daylight, so 24 hours would be midnight the next day, so like 36 hours straight. I ran. I was too tired to run straight, but my body was heavy like lead and wasn't doing what I told it, but I kept running. No one noticed me. Everything you've done is counterproductive to your own cause, Takuru. I don't feel too bad. Why are you walking around like everything's normal? Why are you smiling and shopping? Again, people don't care because it doesn't until it involves them. That's pretty common. What is wrong with all you people? I've already said this. I think we've had a similar scene. Do we have a similar scene like this in Stay Night? After all the murders? I don't remember. A warrant? What the hell? Why would I kill Nono? Why would Sarika kill Nono? I staggered, tripped, and fell. I must have skinned my knee because it started to feel like it was burning. Once I fell over, I couldn't get back up. It was all I could do to roll over, and then I realized I knew this place. This is... I looked around and shivered. This was the place. That beautiful place. This is the place your best friend. This is the place your best friend carved your little sister into tiny pieces. Funny, that's actually accurate here too. And this is the place where you're like, I'll either stop them or avenge them, and then you decided not to do either when you had the chance. Remember when they cut your sister into little pieces, and you decided to like bitch out on trying to stop her from fucking you harder? Yeah, that's awkward. I felt a sudden strong urge to vomit. Was it because I had been running so long? Or was it because of my memories of this place? Why would I come here now? I thought I'd been running the right way, but I was in such a hurry I'd taken a wrong turn. This was some kind of trick God was playing. What the hell was he bringing me here for? Was this his way of telling me I could go back to that night and reset everything? But that's impossible. With every passing hour, things get worse, and there's no changing the past. Damn it all. I punched the ground by full strength, not caring about the pain. Again and again. My hands wouldn't stop. I wanted to destroy it. But I did I want to destroy the ground or my hand? Or maybe myself, the way I was feeling. Damn it all, yeah? Are you alright? I suddenly heard a voice. I looked up and saw two boys about college age. Are you not feeling well? Suddenly the look on one of the boys' faces changed. He stepped back and dragged the other way. What? Shit, dude. What are you talking about? That's Takeru Miyashiro. Busted! I stood up in surprise. I had no idea who these people were, which meant my photo really was on the net. Now see, a smart person, and I'm not saying like a genius, but like a smart person would be like, I'm not the fucking killer, I'm a person of interest, you dumb shit. But he's like, I'm better than this guy, I know the truth. Yeah, I feel like Takuru's kind of the guy who, if he was like put on the stand and like, did you kill someone? He'd kind of just like give the judge or the prosecutor a look like, fuck you, I'm better than you. And they just like be like, well, he didn't say he's not the killer. I guess he's within his rights not to testify against himself. Oh, here's the evidence against him. Let's kill him. Here's the evidence against him. 25 years. And he's like, and in his head he'd be like, those fucking losers. How dare they accuse me of being the killer? How dare they? The audacity. To think I would ever be the murderer. Ha! Ridiculous. Those wrong-siders don't know anything. It's like, it seems like that's what he's done like that the whole story. So I think it would be really funny if we actually had a scene like that, where he legit was like, had his life on the line and was like, all he thought in his head was, those guys are fucking idiots, I'm not gonna tell them anything, and dies for it. Would that be like the funniest twist? I don't think it's gonna happen, but that's what I'm thinking right here. Because our character has done that so many times and it's backfired on him like 50 times. And it just seems to be getting worse every time. Now people think he's the killer. And he's not even defending himself. I felt a sharp pain in my stomach when I stood up. It took me a second to realize I'd been kicked. What the hell are you doing?
こいつなんだろう、例の犯人。大丈夫だ。こんなヨボヨボに負けっかよ。
He got kicked, and the guy's gonna beat him up because he's a fucking serial killer. Oh my god, it's amazing. Please kick his ass. Well, he can't actually use his powers against someone. He's too much of a bitch to kill people or killing his family members. He's certainly not gonna beat this guy up. Fucking hilarious. I'm assuming he'll yell or something and scare the guy, or some shit's gonna happen, but this is funny. Also, if he somehow kills the guy, it's also doubly funny. Because then it's like, wow, he can kill randoms who insult him, but he can't kill someone who killed both his sisters. In one of them in a spectacularly gory and brutal fashion. Damn. Alright, let's see how this goes. Hang on, I'll call the cops. So one guy's gonna beat him up. Don't bother. Ow. Something hard hit my face, my shoulders, my stomach, again and again. I wiped the blood coming out of my nose with my arms. I couldn't keep my eyes open. What's wrong, murderer? He started to get excited and yell as he kicked me. I opened my mouth to tell him he was wrong, just as he kicked me in the stomach and drool and vomit came pouring out. This is a great scene. This is one of the best scenes we've had so far. It's so funny. It's like, he's so busy being like, I'm better than you, that he's letting someone beat him up because he's like, this guy's beneath me, a wrong-sider. Why is this happening to me? I heard the sound of shattering glass and the impact stopped.
Oi, Kora! Gaki domo!
Oh, he got saved by Gen. What a lad. This guy's great. This guy's great. I like Gen, man. I like Gen. He's so good. I knew something would happen to save him, but that's so funny. Oh my god. Oh. You little shit. What do you think you're doing, my friend, huh? Alright. So, I was curious to see how they would stop this fight. And stop him from being beaten to death, because it's not like Takuru's gonna do anything to actually stop this. And Gen comes in. Okay, that's a good time. I was trying to figure out who would be around here. I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't know if his dad would be here. I don't know if his adopted father would be here. So I was like, who the fuck would come get him? Is it just gonna be Kunosada to slap these guys away from him because she's been following him because she's superhumanly fit as well, right? Or Momose, or even Shinjo. I was like, probably wasn't gonna be a cop. Cops would be really bad, and I don't think they'd go there. But all right, Gen. Gen wasn't even in my field of vision. I thought this guy's basically been written out of the story. He's not gonna come back. All right, what are you doing to my friend, you little shit? All right, good line, Gen. You okay, Taku? Gen took me by a quiet, lonely route to his fortress, Miyashita Park. Of course, the police had come to the park in droves as well, but Gen and the other homeless told them nothing. Of course not. My country doesn't abandon its comrades. Thanks to them, the cops didn't even know which trailer house was mine yet. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to come here. It felt like a long, long time since I'd come here, even though it hadn't been that long at all. The two boys who'd attacked me must have called the cops because I could hear sirens going by in the distance. This place probably wouldn't be safe forever either.
Taku yo.
You know, Taku. Gen took out another bottle of liquor and started to sip from it. Gen fell silent. He looked at me like he was trying to work himself up to say something and looked away and took another drink. I'd never seen him like this before. I wrapped my arms around my aching body and waited for him to speak. And after a long time...
ジョーちゃんのこと聞いたぞ。
I heard about the lady. A pain worse than the one from my injuries ran through my whole body. The news wasn't talking about anything else, so it wouldn't be a surprise if Gen knew about it.
おめえじゃねえことぐらい世にはわかる。貴族だからな。
I can tell you ain't the killer. I'm of noble blood, after all.
でもよ、タク、ジョーちゃんは本当に死んじまったのか?
You know, Taku, is she really dead? This time I could hear what he was trying to say. Was Nono really dead? I sat in the familiar RV asking myself the question again and again. Gen took sips from his bottle and waited for me. Yeah. I didn't know how long it took me to do it, but I slowly nodded. Nono is gone. I looked down, feeling I'd admitted to some horrible, unfixable mistake.
なんでだ? ジョーちゃんは幸せにならなきゃいけねえ子だろうがよ。
She's one of those people who deserves to be happy in life. I couldn't lift my head at all, but for some reason I didn't cry. The sun set and another hour passed. I never did make it back to Alba Dorm. Gen's friend told me the police were watching it and it was impossible to even get close. I tried to go anyway, but Gen took a gulp of liquor and said this to stop me.
タクよ、今逮捕されちまったらお前の負けっつもんだぜ。
You know, Taku, if you get arrested now, you lose.
それこそおめえを待ってるジョーちゃんたちがビービー泣
I'm
く
gonna
ん
be
じゃねえ
honest.
のか。
I'm surprised she only went to the cops and didn't also like mind control Gen or some shit, so he couldn't have an alternative base, but I don't know. The people she hit up seem to just be police officers, weirdly enough. Isn't that gonna be what makes the little kids waiting for you cry? Please. And then I remembered what I've been thinking last time I was in this room. It was like the killer was a player in a game, challenging me. The player was, although I couldn't believe it, my childhood friend. I'd kept losing to every mood she'd made, and she'd stolen the people I'd cared about. What if I had been able to win the game? This whole nightmare. It never would have happened, right?
ゲンさん、悪い。手伝ってほしいこと。
Again, I'm sorry, but I need your help with something.
いいぜ。ただし、世を雇うには金がかかる。好きにしとくからよ。全部終わったらちゃんと払えよ。
It costs money to hire me, though. I'll put it on your tab so you can pay me when it's all done. Gen gulped down the last of the alcohol from his cup. I went with Gen and a few of his friends to a certain condo in Daikanyama, deliberately choosing routes with the least amount of people. We passed police officers several times, but because of Gen and the others, no one suspected me.
あそこがそうなのかい?
Is that the place? Yeah.
中に入るときだけちょっと手伝ってほしい。
Help me get inside. I can do the rest
僕だけ
myself.
でやれる。
Alright.
わかった。さっさと済ませちまいな。
Sure, make it quick. This was Sarika's house. This is where I was heading the night I'd lost Karus. I'd come here a few times, though not often, when I just left Alba Dorm and gone to the Miyashita Park. I didn't know how to get food or do my laundry, and Sarika had helped me out. I'd used her shower and sometimes even stayed the night. Of course, nothing happened between us. I looked up and saw the lights were off. There was no sign of the police or detectives. Okay, let's go. I took Gen inside and left the others behind. I went to Sarika's room and used my power to open all the locks. I'd taken Gen with me because I couldn't real boot my power on its own. Gen's eyes had gone wide when he'd seen the door open, but all he said was, guess I must be drinking too much.
ありがとう。 もう帰ってくれて大丈夫だよ。
Thanks, you can go home now.
おう。
Sure,
じゃあ
take care.
気ぃつけてやりな。
Gen patted me on the back and left. Once I watched him go, I went inside. I tried to sense if someone else was in the room before I turned the lights on. There's no one there, including Sarika. Once I was sure I was alone, I turned on the switch. It was a normal room, if anything. A little more grown up than you'd expect from a teenage girl. The room wasn't especially messy. Shinju and the others had supposedly come here once, but they hadn't ransacked the place in their search.
どこへ行ったんだ、尾上。
Where did you go, Onoe? Most they had said they'd found nothing here to indicate where Sarika had gone. I'd come here because I wanted to know what Sarika was really after. But what am I supposed to do now? And when I find Sarika, what do I do then? Ask questions? If I did, what kind of answers would satisfy you? Very good question. Your character doesn't have the willpower to kill anybody. Or even try to get them arrested, so I'm not really sure what you would actually do if you encountered her a third time. Like, okay, you went to encounter her last time and that went like that. What's your plan next time? It clearly isn't going to be. It clearly isn't bring someone else. What kind of answers would be good enough? Very good question.
満足なんか、
Satisfied? Good enough?
納得なんか。
I mean, you have to be satisfied with that. That's impossible. You have to be satisfied with that. You don't even have the willpower to do anything else. Let's see if he can overcome that and do something. I turned on Sarika's computer without being sure what I should be looking for. I opened each file I could find and looked inside. Nothing. Not a single file was important, like Momose had said. There was a folder named Newspaper Club that was filled with information about the case, but it was stuff I'd already seen at school. That's right, what about the drawers? I pulled open one. I flinched back when I saw it was inside. Sumo stickers. Not just one or two. Tons. All of them the real 11th Rorschach. The cops missed this? Interesting choice. The cops actually missed this. What a bunch of potatoes. I'm guessing mind control was still. What a, like, literally, like, opens a drawer. Huh. Real 11th Rorschachs. Interesting. Close this drawer. What are these doing here? She's the person who put up the posters, man. I barely managed to look away before my vision dimmed and I passed out. When the stickers disappeared from my field of vision, I forced myself to take control before the delusions overcame me. I like how Caruso and Sarika are like completely immune to this Rorschach effect. And like our protagonist just like collapses every time he sees one of them. Like he is so wimpy that like like these two people, like Caruso has like no power ignoring these things. No problem ignoring these things at all whatsoever. And neither does Sarika, but apparently they hurt our protagonist. Alright. Put beaded down my forehead. Remember, they can stare at them completely unflinching, and our character's like, ah! At least Arimura is like semi-resilient and is like, they make me uncomfortable, so I like kind of kept walking. And seems to be like not completely insane, but our character is like a fucking drama queen, holy shit. Put beaded down my forehead. I quickly tried to shut the drawer, but then I heard a metallic sound inside. I rummaged through the drawer with my hand, taking care not to look at the stickers. I touched something hard and flat. I pulled it out and quickly slammed the drawer shut. What's this? Huh. A smartphone. It's my smartphone. The police missed his smartphone? Holy shit. These police, man. Top quality Japanese police. Although, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and assume they got mind controlled. It's my phone. And not the new one I was using now. It was the old one I dropped at AH Tokyo General and never found after that. I fearfully turned it on. And I saw the picture I'd set as my wallpaper. You got your phone back, man. That's a great victory, considering all the stupid shit you were willing to do to attempt to get it back. It was the photo you'd taken with everyone.
両手を壁につけろ。ゆっくりだ。
Hands on the wall, slowly. Suddenly the door opened and I heard the click of a cocking gun behind me. I almost turned around, but a low voice told me to
お
stop.
かしな真似はするな。言う通りにするんだ。
Don't try anything, do what you're told. Again, assume he's mind controlled. Okay. Oh, that was definitely a cop. Was I going to be arrested here? If I was, that would be the end of everything. I wouldn't be able to escape no matter what excuses I tried to make. I'm sorry, I won't be coming home. You're a gigglomaniac. If you use your power, you can escape easily, a tempting voice said from somewhere in my mind. I mean, now's probably the right time to use it before he cuffs you and you have to use your power to, well, also do it, escape, but more violently now. I guess you can wait till his guard's down. If I ran, that would mean I was the killer. If it ever went to trial, I would look bad. Dude, they literally already want you dead. Like, how are you assuming anything else? You're already accused of being the killer. If you ran, it would mean you were the killer. If it went to trial, it would look bad.
だったらさ、殺しちゃえば OK だよ、タク。
It's okay to kill him, Tuck.
今
There
な
aren't
ら
any
目撃者
witnesses
もい
here.
ないしね。
I heard a voice I recognized in my head. Was I hallucinating from exhaustion? Or was she using telepathy?
貴様、こんなところで一体何を。
What are you doing here? The man I thought was a police officer suddenly sounded surprised.
宮代くんか。
Miyashiro? It's her dad? It was only then I realized who it was. I twisted my upper body to look at who was behind me. Oh, it's Shinjo. Shit, man. I didn't recognize his voice.
やっぱり宮代くんじゃないか。
Miyashiro. How did the cops miss my fucking phone in her apartment? Shinjo. Thanks, bro. I almost collapsed from relief. Shinjo put his gun away inside as he walked over to me.
まったく君は。
It's always the
い
same
つ
with
も
you,
い
isn't
つ
it?
も。
Yep, it's always a disaster with me. I don't tell you anything and it's a colossal train wreck.
心配かけるんじゃない。
You worried, mate. He made a fist and bopped me on the head.
百瀬さんから連絡を受けたときはどうしようかと思ったぞ。今までどこに。
I don't know what to do when I got the call from Mose. Where have you... He stared at my face.
どうしたその傷。
How did you get hurt like that?
これは。
Oh, this? I explained what happened this afternoon. I see.
そうか。
That's right. Shinjo sighed again.
自分が置かれてる状況くらい把握してるだろ。
You know the situation you're in, right? You
外に出るん
shouldn't
じゃ
be
ない。
going outside.
それでここには何をしに来たんだ。
What are you doing here? Looking for evidence you missed. Like this? Or these? After a long enough pause, Shinjo started to get suspicious. I answered him honestly.
わかりません。
I don't know.
何？
What?
探すつもりでした。あいつを。でも、探してどうしたいのか、だんだんわからなくなって。
I was planning on looking for her, but then I realized I didn't know what I'd do when I found her. Funny. I like how he has to think about this now. He's like, I can't kill her when I find her. I can't even punch her when I find her or yell at her. I just sit there and stare at her, so I need to think about things. I'm okay. You can have this moment of introspection. That's alright. At least he's admitting his failure. Why had Sarika done this? Was she really responsible for everything else that happened too? If she said yes, would I believe her? If she said yes, what would I do?
僕は何をしたいんでしょうね。
What do you think I want to do, Shinjo?
これを渡しておく。
I'll give you this. Shinjo took something out of his suit pocket and handed it to me.
申し訳ないが、中は改めさせてもらった。何が手がかりになるかわからなかったから。
Sorry, I looked inside it. I didn't know what might be a clue.
青葉寮を捜索していた時に出てきたんだ。本来君たちだけが読むべきものだった。警察の他の連中には読まれていないが。
I found it when I was searching Alvador. Honestly, your family should be the ones to only wants to read it, but the rest of the force hasn't seen it. I'm sorry. Shinjo bowed his head a little. In front of the envelope was written, "To my beloved family." On the back, the name Nono.
Nono.
I opened the envelope. Inside, there were several sheets of paper. They were covered with rows of neatly written words. Digitally typeset here. I'm assuming it might look better, and maybe they edited that in. I wonder if they drew it or if they edited it. It looks, there's a slight clash in this text. I'm curious if they it was probably originally Japanese. I wonder what they did, if they replaced the whole image or just the text.
大切な家族
My beloved family.
大切な家族へ。もしもの時のためにこれを書いていきます。
My beloved family, I'm writing this in case something terrible happens. By the way, if she points out the killer here, that would mean she is like actually making. It's not a brilliant move, but it's better than what our main character did. I'm writing this in case something terrible happens. All right.
今までありがとう。私の部屋に残っているものは好きに使ってください。
Thank you for everything. Everything in my room is yours to use.
家具はできれば次に家族になる人のため処分しないでくれると嬉しいです。
It would make me happy if you kept the furniture for the next person who becomes a part of our family.
父さんへ。病院の仕事を手伝えなくなってごめんなさい。
Dad, I'm sorry I won't be able to help around the clinic anymore.
やりかけていた事務の書類は診察室の引き出しの中に入れておきました。
All the paperwork I haven't finished is in the drawer in the exam room.
借りていたままの医学書は私の部屋の本棚に置いてあります。
All the medical books I borrowed are on my shelf.
そういえば私が看護師になりたいって相談した時、父さんは一言、ああそうか
You know,
としか言い
when
ま
I
せ
said I
んでし
wanted
た
to be a
ね。
nurse, all you said was, "Oh, I see."
あの
Ambitious
時は
to be a doctor.
反対されてるのかなってちょっとしょげたりもしたけど、
I thought you might have been opposed to it, but you actually
私の進路志望なんて当の昔に知っていたんですってね。
knew what I wanted to do a long time ago, didn't you?
私と患者さんが話してるのを聞いた？それともなんとなく分かってたのかな？
Did you hear me talking with one of the patients, or did you just know somehow?
きっかけはタクルのリハビリの手伝いをしていた時に父さんに言われた言葉。
It started
独
with
学なのにやるじゃないか、なかなかだぞという一言でした。
It started with what you said when I was helping the courier with his physical therapy. You're doing a great job for someone who hasn't gone to school. I'm impressed.
きっと父親というのはそういうものなんでしょう。父さんが作った家のルール、私は好きでした。
I'm sure that's just the way a father is. I love the rules you made for our family. Thank you. The rules she loves. The rules she ignores.
くれ
Alright.
ぐれも飲みすぎには注意してください。
Please don't drink too much.
ゆうとウキへ。
Yuto and Uki.
大変な時なのにこんなことになってしまってごめんね。
I'm sorry this is happening at a time like this.
ゆいのことは言い訳のしようもありません。止めることができなかった私の責任です。
I can't make excuses for what happened with Yui. I couldn't stop what happened. It's my responsibility.
ゆうと、口うるさいお姉ちゃんでごめんね。今になって思うとちょっと厳しすぎたかなと思っています。
Yuto, I'm sorry for being such an obnoxious big sister. Looking back, maybe I was a little too strict.
あなたは男の子なんだからもっと自由にやりたかったでしょうね。
You're a boy, so you probably wanted to have more freedom.
ウキ、家族にとって一緒にいた時間の長さなんて私は関係ないと思っています。
Uki, I don't think it matters how long someone's been a part of a family.
大切なのは目の前でどれだけ泣いたり怒ったりしたか、どれだけみっともないところを見せ合ってどれだけ気持ちを積み重ねることができたかだと思います。
What matters is how much you've seen them laugh or cry, how much you've seen each other at your worst, how many feelings you've shared.
あなたはタクルの妹でユウトのお姉さんで 父さんの娘。
You're
女の子一人じゃ大変だと思うけど、よろしくお願いね。
You're Takuru's little sister. You're Yuta's big sister. Your dad's daughter. It'll be hard being the only girl, but I know you can do it.
そしてタクルへ、
And lastly, to Takuru.
あなたと約束したのに破ってしまってごめんなさい。
I'm sorry for breaking my promise.
結局私はいけない姉でした。
I guess I'm a bad sister.
これがどんな結果になるかわかりません。いえ、たとえどんな結果になったとしても、きっとあなたは納得できないでしょう。
I don't know what's gonna happen, but no matter what happens, I know you'll be mad.
でも、もし私に何かあったとしても、
But if something happens to me,
絶対に復讐しようなんて思わないで。
promise you won't think of revenge.
今回のこと、間違いなくあの子が関係しているから、あなたは理由が気になるでしょう。でも、それを探ろうとしないで。
I know she's
とにか
involved.
く、危険なことはしないで。
I know you want to know why, but don't try to find out. Don't do anything dangerous.
できることなら、もう能力のことは忘れてほしい。学校でもっと友達を作って、彼女も見つけて、その子のために素敵な男の子になりなさい。
If you can, forget about your power. Make more friends at school. Find a girlfriend. Be the best boyfriend you possibly can.
あなたがいつもバカにしているような、どうでもいい話でもし
I
なが
don't
ら、
recognize this background.
楽しいデートをしなさい。
Go on a fun date. Talk about stuff that doesn't matter, like the people you always make fun of.
あなたが時間の無駄だと思っているような、どうでもいい遊びを友達と一緒にしなさい。
Go with your friends and do some of those things you always said were a waste of time.
だって、文化祭の準備をしているあなたは、楽しそうに見えたもの。
You look like you're having so much fun at the
家で
culture festival.
ゆいやゆうとの話に付き合っているあなたもね。
When you were talking with Yui and Yuto at home.
私、あなたが他の人と自分は違うって口癖のように言うたびに、なぜそこまで意地になるんだろうっていつも不思議に思ってた。
Every time you said you were different from everyone else, I always wondered why you had to be so stubborn.
確かにあなたには他の人にない力がある。他の人が言う普通とは家庭環境だって違うかもしれない。
It's true you have a power no one else has. It's true your family might be a little different.
でもだからといって
But that doesn't mean
ムキになって自分を孤独の中へ閉じ込めるのはどうかなって思う。
doesn't mean you have to get so stubborn about trapping yourself in a lonely shell.
私にはあなたがたくさんの人の中に埋もれてしまうのを怖がっているように見えた。
It always seems to me like you're afraid of being the one face among the
埋もれて
crowd.
しまう程度の自分だと思いたくない。そんな風に怯えているように見えた。
You were scared to think you'd be the kind of person who wouldn't stand out.
でも私はそうは思わない。私の中であなたは埋もれたりしない。たとえあなたがみんなと同じように遊んだりしていても。
But I don't think you are. Not to me, even if you're doing the same things as everyone else.
だって私の大事な家族だから。
Because you're part of my family and I love you.
あ、でも髪は染めてほしくないな。
Oh,
タクルには絶対に似合わないと思うし。
please don't dye your hair. It would look
これは余
terrible. Anyway.
最後にタクルにずっと聞いてほしかった大切なこと、ここに書き残そうと思ったけれどダメでした。
Finally, I wanted to write down the one
許してください。
thing I always wanted you to know, but I couldn't. Please forgive me.
いつかどこかでそれを知ったとき、あなたはきっと私のことを軽蔑し、そして嫌うでしょう。
When you find out someday somewhere, you're gonna despise me and you're gonna hate me.
でもどうか私がタクルのことを思う心だけは疑わないでください。
Please never doubt my love for
私
you.
はあなたのことが好きです。
Alright.
この気持ちだけは嘘じゃないと信じてもらえるなら、
Let's see this
それだけで
secret. Let's see this
私は
secret
幸
she's
せで
been
す。
hiding forever. I love you. If you can believe that no matter what these feelings are real, that's enough to make me happy.
そろそろ行かなきゃいけない時間になりました。勝手なことしてごめんね、タクル。もう一度言うけれど、復讐なんて絶対に考えないで。危険なことはしないで。
Time for me to go. I'm sorry for being so selfish, Takuru. I'll say it one more time, but don't think about revenge. Don't do anything dangerous. Okay, that sounds like
何
the
も
end of
か
the
も
note.
忘れて、他の人と同じ日常を、だけど埋もれないように、
Forget
強く
everything. Live the
しっ
same
か
life
りと
everyone
過ご
else
していって
does.
ください。
But don't get buried in the crowd.
できることなら、この手紙が読まれるようなことになりませんように。2015年
Imagine not naming the
11月
killer
3
in your fucking last words. Damn. I pray you never read this letter. November 3rd, 2015. No. We got through the whole note and she literally never said, I'm going to investigate X. Pray that you never read these words. That was literally like the only thing you needed to include in your I'm investigating last message. And she managed to screw that up. God damn. Alright. It was a good note though. It was a good letter. Good letter. Tears started to pour from my eyes as soon as I finished. I tried to wipe them away, but they wouldn't stop. I fell to the floor, holding Nono's letter in my hands. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't keep sobbing. As I cried aloud, in my mind I was apologizing to Nono over and over again. November 5th, 2015, Thursday. Same time. Frisia Incorporated. Oh, sweet.
そう、わかったわ。
I see, yes, understood.
宮代ちゃん、犯人のこの家にいたそうよ。
Miyashiro was at the killer's house, he says. Mose moved the phone away from her ear and relayed Shinjo's message to Kunosada. She stopped tapping at her computer and grabbed the phone away from her.
新庄さん、宮代に代わってくれ。確認したいことがある。
Shinjo, put Miyashiro on. I want to ask him something. He must have not liked the answer she got back because she looked annoyed.
だったら、なるべく早くこちらに連れてきてくれ。大まかにだが、データの洗い出しと検索が終わった。
Bring him here as soon as you can.
今そっちにメールで送った。
I more or less finished my search of the data. I just sent you a message with the result.
落ち込んでいる時間などないと、尻を叩いておいてくれ。
Give him a swift kick in the ass and tell him he can cry later. Wow, I actually want to shake Kunosada's hand. Good job. He probably needs one of those. Mose arched her eyebrow as Kunosada hung up.
ちょっと厳しいんじゃない？
That was harsh, you think? Nah, man, this guy's really bad at, doing anything.
事実です。
It's the truth. Thank you. That's not what I meant, Mosebian. Oh no, that was not harsh.
近しい人が亡くなってしまった気持ちは、ミオちゃんも知ってるじゃない。
You know what it's like to lose someone close to you, too. Kunosada looked down as if searching her own feelings. Search your feelings, you know this to be true. Alright. Then she looked up at like nothing had happened and turned back to her computer.
私は利己主義ですから。
I only care about myself. Alright.
失恋した男女同士がくっつくよ。
I only care about myself. This is the line you say to convince yourself that you only care about yourself.
ような傷の舐め合いはヘドが出ます。同情するのもされるのもごめんです。
The idea of a boy and girl who both lost the ones they love consoling one another disgusts me. I don't give sympathy, I don't want it either. Kunosada, the fact that the first thing that went to your mind was like, oh, we could console each other or something. You're trying to convince yourself of this, aren't you? Alright.
舐め合いかどうかはともかく、私は同情って優しさだと思ってるわよ。
I think sympathy is part of being kind, you know?
気持ちはわかる。だから頑張れという言葉ほど
I think there's
人を突き放すものはないと思いますが。
nothing that pushes a person away so much as saying, I know how you feel, so hang in there. Yeah, that's sometimes pretty ineffective.
何も言わなくていいのよ。そういうのは自然に伝わるもんだから。
You don't have to tell me anything, people can just tell.
きちんとそうすることができる人を大人っていうの。
Being able to do that is part of being an adult. Kunosato chuckled as she looked at the screen.
私は未成年です
I'm a minor. And then Momose chuckled
そ
too.
れが問題なのよね
That's the problem, isn't it? She sighed. Hey, it's Arimura. How's it going?
あら有村ちゃん寝てていいのよろくに休んでないでしょ
Oh, Arimura, you can go to sleep, you know. You haven't gotten any rest, right? Kunosato turned and saw Arimura had gotten off the sofa. She looked like she wanted to say something, but instead she took a deep breath.
大丈夫です。それより何か分かったんですか？
I'm fine. What did you find? Arimura looked genuinely relieved when she heard they'd found Miyashiro.
そうですか。よかった。
I see, I'm glad.
有村お前尾上の過去を聞いたことはあるか
Oh, Arimura, have you heard anything about Onoe's past? Kunosato suddenly looked away from the monitor and spoke to her.
尾上の過去だそうだな例えば小学生の時の話とか
Onoe's past, like when she was in elementary school, for example? She was caught off guard by the sudden question, but Arimura was able to answer quickly.
宮代先輩の幼馴染だっていうことだけですね。それ以外は何も。
Just that she was Miyashiro's friend, nothing else. He'd only gotten to know Sarika about a month ago. That's fair. All they ever talked about was the case. She didn't even know a lot about Sarika's private life.
どんな些細なことでもいい過去に関して尾上が嘘を言っていたことはなかったか
Did she ever lie about her past? It doesn't matter how small it was.
ないと思います。セリ、彼女は嘘が少ない人でしたから。
I don't think so. Sari didn't lie very much. That was the truth. Arimura was capable of recognizing even common courtesies and jokes as lies. That's why she knew how filled with lies most people's conversations were. And that was the real reason why everything she said at school was a joke. Yeah, that's fair. Nothing made her more upset than when she was talking about something serious and the person she was speaking with responded with a lie. That's why she told jokes. Everyone around her joked back. It was easier that way. You know everyone's lying. Everyone knows you're lying. It's all fair. Out of all the people she knew, Ito and Sarika from the newspaper club were some of the ones who lied the least. They just weren't good at it. But to Arimura, that was a greater blessing than the others could imagine. That's why it had been a shock. It might not have been bad for her if it was for Miyashiro, but she felt like she'd been betrayed by someone who was more than a friend. When Kunosato realized she wasn't going to get anything useful out of Arimura, she turned back to her computer.
彼女のこと何か分かりそうですか？
Are you finding anything out about her?
わからないお手上げというやつだ
Nothing. We're getting nowhere. She sighed and flicked the monitor with her
こ
finger.
こは調査会社ださらに新庄さんが持っているネットワークも使える人探しや身辺調査はお箱なんだよ
This is a detective agency. We got Shinjo's network too. Finding people and doing background checks should be the easiest thing in the world.
だがどれだけ遡っても中学以前の記録が出てこない
I can't find any information on her that dates before middle school. The first time we see anything on her
2009 年11
is
月だ
November 2009. Arimura gasped.
渋谷地震があった月。
That's the month of the earthquake, isn't it?
正確には地震から約2週間後の11月21日 AH 東京総合病院の系列病院のカルテにその記録が残っている
More specifically, 2 weeks after the quake on November 21st, I found her records at a hospital affiliated with AH Tokyo General.
ところがそれ以前のデータはどこにも残っていない出生届も就学の記録も
Interesting.
それどころか戸籍すら見当たらない
There's no data from before that, no birth certificate, no school records, not even a family register.
さらに言うと
And what's more, Kunosawa's face took on an even sterner look as she called up another medical chart. It belonged to Sakuru Miyashiro. Quake time.
すいませんごちそうさまでした
Sorry, thanks for the meal.
気にしないでいい。正直、この味には飽きてるんだ。
Don't worry, to be honest, I'm sick of this stuff. After I finished eating the calorie block, Shinjo threw the wrapper in the trash. Is that like police rations? Calorie blocks? Whenever he was running around on a case, he always kept 2 or 3 with him, he said. I ate them a lot too, so I knew what he meant about being sick of them.
僕もチョコ味をよく食べてます。
I eat the chocolate ones a lot.
そうか。
I see. I didn't know how long I'd been crying, but it was the first time I'd cried until my lungs and throat hurt. Shinjo had offered me a handkerchief and quietly waited a long time for me to finish. After I'd fallen silent and I couldn't find any new tears to wipe away with the handkerchief, my stomach suddenly rumbled. Until then, I hadn't even felt like drinking water, but after a full day of no food, my body had finally begun to demand it. Alright. Shinjo was fiddling with his cell phone. He seemed to be checking his messages. Then he turned to me questioningly.
宮代くん、すまないが聞きたいことがあるんだ。
Miyashiro, sorry, but I need to ask you something. I could tell he was asking if it would be okay. It felt like the tears were about to start again, but I held them back. I looked down at Nona's letter. I'd been holding it so hard it had gotten crumpled in my hands. Don't think about revenge. Don't do anything dangerous.
分かってる。
I know, I know. But you're a liar, so am I. I'm fine, Nona. I'm not fine at all, I'm not, but
全然
I'm fine.
大丈夫じゃないけど。大丈夫じゃないけど。大丈夫だから。
I touched the letter as gently as I could. And then I looked at Shinji with tear-swollen eyes and nodded.
どうぞ。何ですか？
Go ahead, what is it?
尾上セリカのことだ。久野里さんと俺、それに百瀬さんも調べてるが、不明な点が多すぎる。
It's about Sarika Onoe, Kunosato, me and Momose all looked into her and there's just too much we don't know.
覚えていることだけで構わない。最も古い、できれば最初に出会った頃のことから全てを話してほしい。
Tell me what you remember. Give me your oldest memory, preferably of the time you first met. Who the hell remembers when they first met someone? I wasn't sure how to process the complicated feelings I felt when he asked me that question. It was painful and unreal to think that my oldest friend was the killer. It made me furious and sad that I'd lost my best friend and both my sisters at the same time. It made me sad to think of the letter that Nono had written me, and to realize I might never feel better again. It made me feel pathetic to realize how I didn't want to admit Sarika Onoe was the cause of it all. It all mixed together like a swamp that threatened to draw me down. It pulled me deeper in the abyss of my memories.
僕が尾上と出会ったのは
When I first met Onoe, it was before I started elementary school. I couldn't remember the exact date. She was my next door neighbor and would come over and play a lot. That's right, I was born in 97. If it was the same year I started elementary school, it'd be around 2004. We played together almost every day. She was like a real sister to me. I remember that at first I'd read her picture books. I'd only just learned to read myself. Her family was a lot like mine, right? I'll tell you about mine now. I was an only child and both my parents worked. They both worked at an IT company back when there weren't many of those. I think they met each other there. Work was all they cared about. It was only years later I learned that normal people didn't eat all 3 meals with a babysitter. About the time I started elementary school, I started going online using one of their old computers. It was common for me to be up past midnight back then, but my parents didn't know. I think they didn't care. I can remember at least 2 birthdays where they just left me a present and a note saying they're sorry they couldn't make it. The year after the last one, there wasn't a present, and the year after that, there wasn't even a note. Part of the way through elementary school, I mostly just stopped going. Wonderful life. I think it was 3rd grade, my mom happened to be home. She picked up the phone when the teacher called. She looked annoyed when she talked to them. She said her husband was the one who took care of all that, and hung up. She didn't tell me to go to school, or even that I didn't have to go, and Dad didn't even know the teacher's name. At the time, I learned online this is what they call low-level child neglect. Thank God for the internet. Sarika was the same. Actually, she was worse. She used to tell me I was lucky because I got a card. Oh, a credit card. I didn't have a babysitter then, so I had to get my own food. Once I learned how to use the card, I'd split the food I bought with Sarika. I didn't think her parents hit her or anything either. Oh, there was one time she came over to my house, really scared. Her parents had tried to force her to go to a hospital, she said. I don't know the details, but they said all kinds of mean things about how she was crazy and wasn't normal. I think it was a psychologist or a psychiatrist or someone who worked at a hospital like that. She cried a long time. I let her stay in my room for a while, and my parents never cleaned it, so they never looked inside. Yeah, thinking back, we were probably together all the time when I was little. I've never met her parents. She said they were almost never home. I don't think I ever went to her home either. They didn't have a computer, so there's no need to go. I'm not sure. I don't think she went to school a lot. I never saw her playing with anyone but me, and we were busy finding information on the internet, so we were much smarter than... never mind. Ah, yes, the wrong-siders. It starts her. When we were in 4th grade, 2 years before the quake, we heard a rumor about Amy, an urban legend. We both went to the basement in the hospital to look for it. Yes, AH Tokyo General. We liked stuff like that, both me and her. That's where we saw the experiment being done on Minamisawa. We got scared and ran. I couldn't even imagine what it was that I was seeing back then. That was the first time she and I snuck in anywhere. Sarika, I think she was scared. I remember thinking I needed to protect her. We were both equally excited. It was a chance to know something no one else knew. Sarika told me I should go to school and tell everyone what I saw, so I did. Everyone told me I was lying, of course. Then I started going even less. I started researching the sumo stickers and stuff. We tried making a webpage about it together. When we were in 6th grade, the New Generation Madness happened. That was 2009. It's like we'd gone crazy. At first, we couldn't believe something like that was happening in the city we lived in. We spent almost the whole day glued to the computer following the news. When something big like that's going on, if you take your eyes off the internet for even a few hours, you'll get left behind. We stayed up all night in shifts following the case. Sometimes we'd use our cell phones to read the internet as we actually went to the crime scenes and took pictures. More murders kept happening. Eventually they started to say Takumi Nishijo was the killer, but that turned out to be wrong. Tariq and I were both very excited. He seemed so cool. Proving your innocence means getting the right information and shoving in the faces of the people whose information was bad, right? It seemed the ultimate expression of what I was trying to do then, and I guess I'm still trying to do that now with the newspaper club. Tarika said he was amazing. I agreed. When the earthquake happened, Sarika and I were near the O-Front building. Nishijo was doing something there and we wanted to see. And there was this high-pitched noise and everything went white. Ah, so that's the building they were near. Alright. And then it happened. At first we didn't think it was an earthquake. We thought it was a bomb or something. The ground bounced up and down like a trampoline and several telephone poles near us fell down. I could hear screaming. The sound of breaking glass. Someone yelled earthquake. That's how I knew it was an earthquake. Anyway, Sarika and I ran away so we wouldn't get caught up in the people panicking. We didn't know where we were running, but we didn't want to be there. We got caught in the crowds, and we were quickly separated. When that happened, I got scared, and all of a sudden, I couldn't move. I got pushed over and fell. I crawled behind something. The shaking had stopped, but what scared me more than the quake was the way everyone around me had changed in an instant. I spent a long time in that spot unable to move. The idea of going home never occurred to me. There was no way I could rely on my parents for help, and at the same time, I thought there was no place in Shibuya was still standing. I didn't know what to do. And then I found Sarika passed out near me. She must have been pushed down and hit her head, or maybe she hadn't been able to handle what she was seeing because she had passed out. I decided I had to save her. The information online said Yoyogi was relatively undamaged and hospitals were accepting patients. I carried her on my back and started walking there. And then... never mind. Anyway, I kept walking, and when I reached AH Tokyo General, which had been turned into a temporary shelter, Sarika looked like she was in pain the whole way there. She didn't wake up. I saw my parents there, and I collapsed from a terrible headache. That's all I remember from the quake. When I woke up, I was in Alba Dorm, and a year had passed while I was in a coma. That's where I met Nono and the others. Sorry, I'm fine. I heard what happened from Nono and Sarika. Sarika woke up at the hospital and saw me unconscious. She stayed with me the whole time, and when AH Tokyo General overflowed, I was moved to one of the other hospitals in their network, and she came with me. She wasn't in good shape either. I guess she didn't want to go home. She refused to leave my side, and when the people from the hospital saw her, they put her into care counseling, care counseling, okay. Her parents died in the quake, she said. So did mine. Given the circumstances, the hospital didn't seem to mind her staying there with me, but once things started to calm down, they sent her home. We found some relatives who agreed to help her get a place, the one she has now, and Every day she came to visit me in the hospital. I don't know. I think she said they were relatives who lived a long way away. I don't know their names. No, I'm sorry. Some time passed and there was nobody to take me in, so I moved to Albador. She still stayed with me the whole time. That's when she met Nono, I guess. They were good friends. Yeah, great friends, I'm sure. When I woke up after more than a year, I had trouble moving. Nono helped with my physical therapy. Sarika would come check in on me all the time, and Nono would happily tell her of my progress. Family was very important to Nono, and Sarika was the one person outside the family she called by first name, not last. The two of them would go out and visit all the different crepe shops in Shibuya, and since Sarika didn't have any interest in makeup or clothes, Nono would take her shopping for them. They were really good friends. Great friends, I'm sure. But after my therapy ended and I could walk, I started going to school more and more. Yes, that middle school. I was given special permission to be in the second year along with the other kids my age. Sarika did the same as a first-year student. After the quake, while I was in a coma, she'd started going to school. It was hard living on her own, but Nono would take care of her and her relatives sent her plenty of money. She seemed to be doing better than she was at her old house. There was nothing strange yet, I think. I went to Heikyo Academy because they offered free tuition for orphans of the quake. A year later, so did Sarika. We both joined the club and did amazing things there. It's exactly as you saw it, I think. She spent a lot of time with us at school, but had her own friends in her own classes. She wasn't part of any of their groups, but it didn't seem like they were ignoring her or anything. I'd never seen her with anyone suspicious, and she wasn't the type to keep secrets. When I didn't have a charger, she'd just hand me her phone and let me use it. That was the kind of girl she was. Yeah. Sarika was a normal high school kid, just like us. Until she wasn't, apparently. Welcome back to November 5th. The same time. On the streets of Shibuya. Where's Sarika going? Where are you going, little miss serial killer? Sarika was running. She was out of breath and had a terrible headache. There was sweat all over her body, and it wasn't from exhaustion. Running a few minutes wasn't enough to tire her out. Compared to what she'd had to do, her mind... Compared to what she'd had to do, her mind and body... I'm gonna try and read this again. Compared to what she'd had to do, her mind and body... This sentence doesn't work. I'm sorry. There is something missing here. It feels like a really weird sentence. Compared to what she'd had to do, her mind and body to commit the murders. Again, there's no comma there. There's no spacing between it. It's just compared to what she had to do, her mind and body to commit murders. This was nothing at all. Okay. Crap. She touched the small cut on her stomach as she ran. She felt slick blood, a sensation she was long since tired of. She'd probably have to stitch it up, but if her organs weren't ruptured, she'd be fine. She was used to getting stitches with anesthetic. She didn't even need a towel to bite on to relieve the pain. The needle didn't even need to be a medical one. This terrible headache was new to her. Sarika stopped when she saw there was no one around. You're slowing me down. She punched the wound on her stomach hard 2 or 3 times. This is literally exactly the same thing Kylo Ren did. Do you remember in like the fucking episode 7? Anyway, the sensation of a fierce external pain, a sensation she was used to, ran up her spine. She hoped it would alleviate the pain of her headache. She hoped her brain would decide the pain of her open wound was more important than the headache, but... The headache didn't stop. It felt like a cold needle was being driven into her head with every heartbeat, and her mind screamed at her that something was terribly wrong. She knew why. Just struggling against his power did this to me, huh? Her head hurt, but her mind was still capable of clarity. Her foe was far stronger than she had expected. Mind control. An unimaginably horrible form of hypnosis, which could make anyone do whatever you wanted. When he was an ally, she thought it was the greatest power imaginable. Now, he was an enemy, and it seemed like the worst. No. That's not right, she laughed to herself. He hadn't been an ally. He hadn't been a helper or a co-conspirator either. You could call him anything, he was a blackmailer. The phone in her hand trembled. It wasn't the one she'd used when she pretended to be a normal person. She'd destroyed that a while ago so the police couldn't track her. It was the one he'd given her for communicating with him. It probably belonged to someone they'd killed, or perhaps he'd used mind control to steal it from someone who never even knew it was gone. She stared at the screen for a moment, but finally decided to answer it. How's your stomach? I'm sorry, you just attacked so suddenly. My body just moved on its own.
嘘をつけ。私の行動を予想していたくせに。やっぱりかと、お前の思考が言っていたぞ。
Liar. You were expecting it. I could read your mind. Must have found something funny because the man on the other end laughed. That's just like you, the way kids should be, though. So, you can at least tell me why, right?
しらじらしい。
You know damn well why. Rika's voice was filled with rage. He knew, and yet he asked anyway. He was either a sadist or some kind of sick hedonist. The methods he came up with for his murders always felt like one big joke.
どうして宮代拓郎を主犯に仕立て上げた？一連の事件は全て南沢千里の犯行として決着させるはずだったろう。
Why'd you make Takeru Miyashiro to be the killer? The plan was to make it look like Senator Minami Sawa was behind this. Oh, are you saying I was responsible? Of course you were, asshole, she thought. A warrant had been put out for Miyashiro only a few hours after Nono's death, and in a way that would normally never be possible. There was no way they'd give a miner's real name out in the span of time unless he used his power.
一体どういうつもりだ？
The hell are you thinking? He's learned too much. I'm actually compromising for your sake.
何？
What? Your mind-reading power helped a lot. I might have had to kill him, but instead I'm just gonna have him arrested as the killer. She hated the fact she was on the phone. Without being able to see him, she couldn't read his mind. She wanted to know what he was really thinking.
南沢千里より彼を犯人として祭り上げた方が都合が良くなっただけだろう。
It's just better for your plans if he's the killer and not Senri, right?
余計なことを知っている彼は世間に出てこなくなる。その上、自分の姉と妹を殺した主犯ということで話題性もつく。
He'll be locked away where he can't tell anyone anything, and the press will think he's the one who killed his sisters and talk about the story even more.
その方が力士シールに注目も集まるからな。
That will attract more attention to the sumo sticker.
しかも、犯人として逮捕されて終わりだと。宮代拓郎は最初の犯行である9月7日時点ですでに18歳だ。
And you expect me to believe he'll get off with an arrest? As of the first murder on the 7th, he was 18 years old.
犠牲者は7人。未成年としては犯罪史上最多。今の世論の流れなら十中八九、極刑になる。そんなことを私がわからないとでも。
There are 7 victims. No minors ever committed that many murders. No way public opinion's going. There's a 99% chance he'll get the death penalty. Did you think I wouldn't know that? I didn't actually know he was 18 as of that day. Damn, alright. Ripperoni, get tried as an adult, get axed as an adult. Good stuff. Well, we won't know until he goes to trial. Will we?
どうせお前が捜査するんだろうが!
And when that happens, you'll be controlling the whole thing. So, if he doesn't want him dead, the judge won't give him the death penalty. See? Tarika yelled into her phone and the man started laughing again. Didn't know if it was because she'd yelled or because his laughter pissed her off, but the headache got worse, which only made her madder. You're great! Why not come back? Your power's of great value to me, and you're smart. You got guts too.
ふざけるな。彼が無事であること。これがお前に手を貸す唯一の条件だったはずだ。
Nice person. I want to kill this man's whole family, but keep him safe. Seems like a nice person, thanks, Sarika. Although, for all we know, she's been mind controlled. So who knows? Shut the hell up. His safety was the one condition I had for helping him. You're stubborn, aren't you?
それ以外のことに私の価値などない。
I don't care about anything but that. Mikuru Miyashiro's survival. That was the one thing she cared about since she came into this world. Being a murderer, being an accomplished murderer, using her mind reading to find psychics, she'd done it all for that reason. But now... Let me ask you then, what will you do now? You're not going to take him and run, are you? Sarika managed to stop herself from speaking. He was right. She'd thought it was the only way. It's impossible and you know it. I don't know, it seems pretty possible. Our protagonist wouldn't kill her or do anything to her. He'd be like super passive and panic at best. A few times, then he'd accept that she killed that she killed his both of his sisters and be like, oh well, that sucks. Guess we'll be friends anyway.
やってみなければわからない。お前の力は確かに脅威に見えるが、委員会の末端ができることには実は限界があるんじゃないのか。
We won't know until we try. Your power's a threat, but maybe there's not much someone... Hold on. That's right, she thought it was the only way. There's not much someone so low on the committee's totem pole can actually do, is there? That's why he'd come to her for help, right? She thought it was her only chance to save Miyashiro.
現に彼はまだ警察にもお前の手にも渡っていない。居場所がわからないんだろう。
The police don't have him yet. That's because you don't know where he is, do you? You got me there, that's right. I'm all the way at the bottom of the org chart. I don't even know who the main members are. And then he spoke in a voice that sounded a little too deliberate. She could sense his lips curling into a smile. Maybe I'll start with Frisia. He finally gave a small gasp. She'd thought that's where he was heading to. How did he know about Frisia? When she whispered that to herself, he said, oh, they told me all about Frisia. Don't you know how much he and Nono trusted me? Okay. Well, there's only like two options. It's either dad or best friend. Ah, the voice is too deep too. Damn it. All right. Cool. Nice father. Man, I swear to God, if they didn't plant the memories of in our protagonist's head of him having a terrible family, this guy has like the worst luck in family. His parents fucking hate him. His parents fucking hated him and treated him like garbage. And then he gets to a new family and his dad's the fucking serial killer that murders the rest of his family and is like planning from the start to murder his entire family. Holy shit. What a family. Like you're like, oh yeah, my parents died. So your new father from the start is planning on killing your entire, having you grow up and then murdering your entire family. Oof. Oof. Alright. Die, asshole. Sarika hung up the phone and started to run, ignoring the pounding in her head. I see. So that's it, Kunosada said in a voice that was too soft to hear. And then she put her hand up to her head and started to think. I told Kunosada the same thing I just told Shinjo. Shinjo had brought me back to Frisia and given me a stern warning not to leave again. Then he'd gone back to his investigation, in theory, looking for me. Please stop being stupid, Miyashiro.
まったくよ。有村ちゃんなんて泣きながら先輩が逮捕されちゃうって大変だったんだから。
That's right, Arimura was crying and screaming, they're going to arrest Senpai! It was a mess. I was not crying. Both Arimura and Momose were worried about me. I was glad for that. The only ones who knew the truth were the three of them, Shinjo, Kazuki, and Uki. We may have had different goals, but if nothing else, they knew I wasn't the killer, and they were working to find the real serial killer, Sarika. Only now did I realize how stupid it was for me to run away. Compared to this morning, the thick fog in my brain had lifted just a little.
No, no. 僕は大丈夫だから。
No, no, I'm fine. Don't think about revenge. Don't do anything dangerous. Live the life everyone else does and don't get buried among the crowd. Words in the letter were like heavy weights keeping me grounded.
Miyashiro. Arimura.
Miyashiro, Arimura.
はい。
Eh? Minasato turned from the computer screen toward us. Her expression was sterner than usual.
前にも言ったと思うが、渋谷地震の際に目撃された白い光がお前たちギガロマニアックスの発生に関係していると私は確信している。
I've said this before, I think, but I'm absolutely certain the white light seen during the Shibuya earthquake is in some way responsible for your powers.
震源域の中心付近にかつてプラネタリウムがあったのは知っているだろう。
You know there's a planetarium near the epicenter of the quake, right?
そのプラネタリウムはある企業によって買い取られたのだが、新庄さんの聞き込みによれば、それ以降不審な男たちが目撃されるようになったそうだ。
The planetarium was bought out by a certain company, and according to Shinjo's investigations after that purchase, suspicious men were seen there many
しか
times.
もそれと並行して多数のリアルブートらしき現象の目撃情報がある。
At the same time, there were multiple witnesses to incidents that sound like real booting.
さらにその企業は例の AH 東京総合病院と深い関係があることも分かった。
We also know this company is deeply related to H Tokyo General Hospital.
つまりどういうこと
Wow,
で
it's
す
the
か？
first time we've been told any useful information from her. Usually she's like super tight-lipped. Thanks. Thanks, actually, Kunisada. So what are you saying?
ここからは推測だが、プラネタリウムはあの地下施設と同じくギガロマニアックスの実験か何かに使われていたのではないかと思う。
Ah, good plan. It's just a hypothesis, but I believe it's like... Just like the basement facility, the planetarium was being used for some kind of gigalomaniac-related experiments.
ところが、あの地震でプラネタリウムは破壊され、いや、あるいは逆に、プラネタリウムでの実験にトラブルがあって、地震を引き起こしたのかもしれないが。
That earthquake destroyed the planetarium, or no. It's possible one of the experiments went wrong and caused the quake. I did call that. Anyway.
実験中だったギガロマニアックスの発生因子とでも言うべきものが周囲に拡散されてしまった。私はそれが白い光だと考えている。
Either way, they were experimenting on some factor that created gigalomaniacs, which is then scattered around the surrounding area. That's what I think the white light was. Okay.
有村ちゃんたちの脳からギガロマニアックスの能力を引き出してしまった原因物質ってことかしらね。
Some kind of material that brought out the gigalomaniac powers from your brains, I guess.
物質じゃなくて電磁波みたいなものだとかエネルギーとかそういうものかもしれないけど。
Might not have been matter, could have been EM waves, energy, anything similar.
ああ、つまりアレルゲンみたいなものですね。
Ah, like an allergen. Okay.
全く違う。ちょっとばかり聞きかじっただけの言葉を使うな。
Not even
バカ
close.
は黙っていろ。
Don't use words who have meanings you don't understand. It makes you look like an idiot who needs to shut up. Armor frowned. The two of them still weren't getting along.
こうして光を浴びてしまった多数の人間の脳に発生因子が与えられたと考えられるが、ただし
And so this,
全員が覚醒したわけじゃない。
so this causal factor, whatever it was sent into the brains of a lot of different people, and not all of them awakened.
これまでの研究によれば、脳がまだ発達段階で活発に活動している若い人間、その中でも脳への負荷が非常に高い事象を経験した者だけに能力の発現が見られる。
Our research has shown that it only occurred in the young whose brains were still developing, particularly those experiencing something that put them in states of extreme stress.
はい。
Right. I nodded. I knew exactly what she's talking about.
能力者の能力はその出来事というより、その出来事に対してどんな心理的作用が働いたかに依存している。
The nature of their powers is dependent on what that something was, or more accurately, how their minds react to it.
その話、みんなでしたことあります。どんなことを望んだかで能力が決まるってことですよね。
We've talked about that. The wish you make decides your powers, right?
ありていに言えばそういうことになるな。
More or less. Okay, good. So we're all on the same page. When I woke up from the earthquake, I felt stress at the way my body wouldn't move. I never wanted to go through that again. Not only was there stress of not being able to move, there was the terror that came with wondering if I might stay like that forever. So I gained the power of psychokinesis. When I was telling that to Kunosada, my mind flashed back to how Nono helped me with my physical therapy. She'd done her best to cheer me up, at times kind and gentle, at times strict. She was always there for me. And now, she's gone.
ダメだ、しっかりしろよ。
Get a hold of yourself,
足をたく
Dakota.
れ。
Come on. I forced myself to snap out of it. That is literally the most willpower this character's shown in the entire book. Damn, alright. Congratulations. I realized Kunosada was staring at me.
あの、
Excuse me?
宮代拓の能力はサイコキネシス。その発生要因は過酷なリハビリ。私もお前のことを調べて
Your power was
そう思い込んでい
psychokinesis.
た。
The cause was your difficult physical therapy. That's what I thought, wrongly, when I investigated you. For some reason, she looked frustrated.
思い込んでいたって。
Oh, wrongly.
安易な判断と思い込み、私もまだまだ未熟だ。本当ならもっと早く尾上セリカにたどり着けていたかもしれないのに。
I made the easy assumption, which means I still have a lot of learning to do. I should have thought of Sarika Onoe a lot sooner.
どういうことですか？
What do you mean?
今も言ったろ？
What I just said?
能力者はいずれも地震の時にギガロマニアックスの発生因子を浴びて能力を発現させている。
All of the psychics developed their powers after being struck by the White Light during the earthquake. Yeah, she was definitely in a stressful situation.
おそらくあの過酷な地震が彼らに強いストレスと願望を与え、それが引き金となった。
I guess the earthquake put you under incredible stress and gave you something to wish for, and that was the trigger.
お前もそうだな、有村。
That's how it was for you, right, Arimura?
ええ。
Yes. That's what she'd said before, that her powers awoke during the earthquake, and that the cause was that she wanted to know the truth.
山添由紀もそうだ。佐久間先生からのレポートによれば、能力の発現はやはり渋谷地震の直後だという。
Same is true of Yuki Amazoe. Dr. Sakuma's report says her powers developed right after the earthquake.
それとパイロキネシストのハイダリコ、あの女のこともようやく調べ終えたが。
And Riko Haida, the pyrokinetic, we finally finished our research on her. Kunosada pointed to a corner of the screen. It was displaying data about the pyrokinetic that had threatened us.
ハイダリコは渋谷地震で顔に火傷を負い、他の能力者と同様、その直後に覚醒している。
Riko Haida was burnt on her face during the earthquake, and like other psychics, developed her powers immediately afterwards.
絶望感による過度のストレスと、他の人間に自分と同じ絶望を与えてやりたいという暗い願望が発生因子と結びついたらしい。
In her case, it was intense stress caused by despair and a dark desire to make others share her fate that connected the two. Interesting. That gives you pyrokinesis.
これでわかったろ？もちろん全ての能力者を調べたわけではないが、私が知る
I
限り
see.
全員例の白い光を浴びた直後に能力を得ている。
Now you understand, right? Of course, I haven't investigated every psychic, but every single one I know awoke to their power right after being struck by the light.
1年以上のタイムラグがあったものなど、私の持っているデータの中にはいないんだよ。
Not a single person in my dataset developed their power a year later. I started to understand what Kunosada was trying to say. You had your telekinesis way before him. Then I felt an awful sensation.
情報を精査したところによると、能力者の力が発現する際には必ず大きな副作用が起こる。
When I went back over the info, I found as always a major side effect when a psychic first manifests their powers.
耐え難いほどにひどい
An
頭痛だ。
unbearable headache.
これは血管拡張によるものだと思う。頭痛の原因の中では極めてポピュラーで、 片頭痛と診断される痛みも
I believe it's
血管が拡張するために起こる。
I believe it's due to expansion of the blood vessels, an extremely common reason for headaches, particularly migraines.
ギガロマニアックスの場合の血管拡張は発生因子が引き金となって、ドーパミンとそれに類した神経伝達物質が過剰に分泌されるのが原因。
Some of our data indicates that in the case of a gigomaniac, the causal factor is the trigger that results in excess of dopamine and similar neurotransmitters.
というデータが出ているが、
This in turn results in the swelling. Okay. Then she paused. She was probably giving me time to think.
そこで宮代に質問だ。お前はリハビリの時にひどい頭痛を経験したことはあるのか？
So, Miyashiro, any terrible headaches during your physical therapy? I tried to think. I couldn't remember any pain in my head, just the rest of my body, particularly joints.
いえ、おそらくないと思います。
I don't think so.
なら他の能力者と同じように地震の際にひどい頭痛を経験した瞬間があったはずだ。
There should have been a moment during the quake you experienced a terrible headache, just like the other psychics. I could hear my heartbeat loudly. My vision started to blur and my heart beat so loud I could hear it.
その時お前は何をしていた？
What were you doing then? I had a bad feeling. What was I doing then?
正確に聞こう。地震の時にお前は何を望んだ？
Let me rephrase that. During the earthquake, what was your
例え
wish?
ば危険を回避するために瓦礫を意のままに動かしたいと望んだのか？
Did you want to
それ
maybe
でサイコキネシスを手に入れたのか？
Did you maybe want to move away some rebel that you could avoid some danger? Did that give you psychokinesis?
違う。
That wasn't what I
そんな
wanted.
こと
He wanted his
全然なんか
parents gone because they were dragging him and Sarika away from the hospital as he could still walk, right? That's what we're gonna see. That wasn't what I
あ
wanted.
の時
My wish then was
僕が望んだのは
You wish for Anoe? Sarika, save me. Save, please, please. For a moment, it felt like the headache I'd experienced during the earthquake had come back, and I grabbed my head in pain. I tried to get the idea out of my head, but it wouldn't disappear. No, that couldn't be right.
どうした？
What's wrong? Kunosato stared at me. Your expression is stern as ever. Eventually, she did something to her computer. It displayed a different set of data than before. For some reason, it felt like I was being driven further and further into a dark
こ
cave.
れは尾上のカルテだ。日付は2009年11月21日。AH 東京総合病院の系列病院に残っていた。
This is Onoe's medical chart, dated November 21st, 2009, at a hospital affiliated with AH Tokyo General.
お前は地震の後、ここに入っていたと言っていたな。ということは、お前に付き添っていた尾上も、この病院でカウンセリングを受けたわけだ。
You said you were a patient here after the earthquake, right? Which means this is where Onoe would have been given counseling.
ところが、尾上の記録は、これ以前には存在しない。
But there are no records of Onoe prior to this date.
そうでしたね、百瀬さん。
Correct, Momose? We couldn't find her family register or anything else, Momose said, but her voice sounded unreal and far away.
ありえないですよ。だって尾上は小さい時から僕と
That's impossible. Onoe's always been with me since I was a kid.
家が隣同士だったらしいな。
She lived next door, right?
そうです。
Right.
当時、お前が住んでいたマンションは6階の角部屋。隣の住人の名前は新井。経営していた会社を引退した年金受給者の老夫婦だ。
Perfect time for a drink.
子供は
Lots of
設け
dialogue.
ていない。
At the time, you lived in the 6th floor condo at the end of a hall. Your neighbors were named Arai. They were an elderly couple who'd retired from the company they ran and had no children. My heart beat louder. It was aggravating me. It was a strange sensation. I was hearing all the words, but I couldn't understand what they meant. Even my breathing was getting faster.
違います。尾上は隣に住んでいて、両親から無視されていて。
She lived next to me. Her parents were neglecting her.
その両親とやらに会ったことはあるのか？
Did you ever meet these parents?
ないんだろ。
No, right?
尾上には当時他に友達がいなかったそうだが、そもそも地震以前に尾上が誰か第三者と話しているのを見たことがあるか？
You said she didn't have any friends. Before the earthquake, did you actually see her talking to anyone besides you?
それは。
I hadn't. That was because she didn't have any friends. Sometimes when I thought she was always with me, she never left my side for an instant. Couldn't have said I tapped at the keyboard and the screen changed.
これはお前のカルテだ。
This is your chart. Also found at
そ
that
の系列
hospital.
病院に残っていたものだ。
If only I'd found it sooner, she whispered. At some point, I'd started crying. I couldn't see the screen through my blurred
お前
vision.
が昏睡状態に陥った原因は不明とされている。発生因子のことが解明できなかったんだろう。だが、その代わり、別の病院の精神科の診察記録が追記されている。
It says the cause of your coma is unknown. They probably had no idea of the presence of the causal factor. Instead, it has notes from a psychiatrist at another hospital. Another hospital? Psychiatrist? I'd never been to another hospital. It must have been a mistake.
2006年の日付か。お前が小学3年の時だな。イマジナリーフレンドへの過度の傾倒と診断されている。
It's dated 2006, so when you were in 3rd grade, heavily reliant on imaginary friend, it says.
Huh?
Imaginary friend.
簡単に言えば、空想上の友人のことだ。
A friend who exists only in your fantasies.
空想?
In my fantasies? That's not true, a voice in my head said over and over.
イマジナリーフレンド自体は珍しいものじゃない。そもそも病気ではなく、幼児の3割近くが空想上の友達を持っている。
Imaginary friends themselves are very common. It's not a disease. Around 30% of infants have them. That's an interesting statistic. I didn't know. Okay.
何もない空間に話しかける子供に対して、幽霊が見えていると決めつけるオカルトマニアたちがいるが、そういうマニアの話を聞いたことくらいあるだろ。
So so he still has psychokinesis, but it's enough to also construct a person? There's fans of the occult who say when an infant talks to empty space, it's because they can see ghosts. I'm sure you've at least heard those stories, right?
嘘です。
You're lying. So she's suggesting his power is what? Mind and space manipulation? Enough to make a wholly new person?
だが、思春期までイマジナリーフレンドを持続している人間となると、その数は激減する。乖離性同一性障害とは区別されているが、私に言わせれば、脳の状態はほぼ同一だ。
Very few people maintain their imaginary friends until puberty. It's distinct from dissociative identity disorder. But if you ask me, the symptoms are almost the same.
お前の話に出てくる地震前の尾上は、お前を常に羨んでいたな。同じネグレクト状態にありながら、お前の方がマシだと。
The Inoue you described from before the earthquake was always jealous of you. She was also a neglected child, but she said you were better off than her. I tried to yell at her to stop, but my throat hurt too much for me to speak. The taste of blood filled my mouth. I must have bit my lip. I'd started crying without even realizing it.
イマジナリーフレンドの大半は、友好的なものとして存在する。それで自分の承認欲求を満たすためだ。
The vast majority of imaginary friends are friendly because they fulfill the desire for esteem.
違う。
自分に不利益な事実を空想上の友人に押し付けるのは、むしろ同一性障害に多く見られる症状なんだが。
Transference of negative facts into an imaginary friend is actually something more commonly seen in identity disorders, but...
違うって言ってるだろ!
I'm telling you, you're wrong. Kunisada's words were cold and
頭
uncompromising.
がおかしい。まともじゃないと言われたのは、尾
It
上じゃない。
It wasn't Inoue that told me that she was crazy or abnormal.
それを尾上に押し付けたお前なんだよ。 宮代拓。
It was you, and you transfer that onto her, Takuru. Don't lie to me.
宮代先輩。
You sure? I felt a soft hand on my shoulder and turned to look. It was Arimura. She looked at me like I was a young child in need of tender care. Stop. Don't look at me that way.
久野里さんは嘘はついてない。
Kunosato was telling the truth. All the feelings inside me went cold when I heard her words. Arimura said she was telling the truth. So she was. Then I didn't want it to be true. If it was... If it was, then I'm the one who killed No. That was my first guess, but I'm not sure if this counts. Does this count? It seems to be a wholly independent personality, unless it's still tethered to us and like subconsciously being directed by us. I feel like it doesn't count as us, right? I wanted to guess me. I wanted to guess we were the killer who set this up, but then we found out our powers weren't mind control or something really wonky that would allow us to do several of the things, so it seemed weird. Unfortunate. I don't think it's counting. That means in the end, I'm the one who killed her.
そこまでにしてもらおう、久野里美代。
That's enough, Mios Hunasata. Suddenly I heard a voice. I turned and saw someone in front of the door, someone I knew well. Oh no. That's right, it was Sarika Onoe. It was different in every way from how she'd been at the newspaper club. There was an expression on her face, I couldn't read it all.
貴様。
Yeah.
待て、争う意思はない。
Wait, I'm not here to fight. She doesn't even have her airy voice, she has like the super serious voice.
ふざけるな。
The hell you aren't?
本当だ。有村ひなえ、それをしまってくれないか。
It's true, Hina. Can you put that away? I mean, don't. Step 1, don't. Step 2, attack. Step 3, there is no step 3. You either win or you die. Attack! Hello, please, don't be like that. Don't be like our bitchy character. Armor had unleashed her D-sword. She was glaring at Sarika and pointing it straight at her.
お前たちに危害を加えるつもりなら、
If I
こんな
want
に
to
堂
hurt you, I
々と
wouldn't walk in the
姿
door
を見
like
せない。
this. Listen, you're like murdering like, I don't really care what your excuse is. Just die or go to jail. It's real easy. Unfortunately, these people will, probably not do anything like that. Wait, why was Sarika here? What's she doing? She's saying she's not here to fight me to let my guard down? Make me let my guard down and then kill me? No, forget that. Why did she kill No? All those thoughts slipped through your mind before I could think about any of them. And then they came together to form the biggest question of all. Did I create her?
そう。今思ってる通りだよ、宮代拓。
That's right, it's just as you're thinking, Takura Miyashiro. Well, you have a serial killer alternate personality. You either reintegrate the personality or kill that personality. Come on, man. You also get the mind reading powers if you kill her, if you absorb her, right? Sarika looked me dead in the eye. Was she reading my mind? It felt like she could read everything I was thinking.
私はお前に生み出された存在だ。あの時にな。
You created me during the earthquake. What she said was the one thing I didn't want to admit, so I found myself looking towards Arimura, who had drawn her D-sword and readied it again. Arimura nodded slowly without taking her eyes off Sarika. I knew it was her way of saying she was telling the truth, but still, my heart refused to admit it. It's a lie, it has to be. Because Sarika was important to me as Nona. A phone started to vibrate in someone's pocket. Sarika's expression changed
私の
infinitesimally.
スマホだ。ポケットに手を入れるぞ。他のものは出さない。だから。
That's my phone, I'm
Ina.
putting my hand in my pocket, so I won't take out anything else. Got it? Seriously? This is where we're going. Nobody's trying to do anything. Oh well. So Sarika looked at Arimura as she spoke. Arimura was instantly able to tell if she was telling the truth.
言ってることは
What she's
スピーカー
telling
に
is
しろ。
truth. Put it on speaker.
疑り深い女だ。
You're a suspicious woman. Sarika nodded and took out her phone. She went to put it on speaker, but before she did, she looked up. Her eyes met with mine.
宮代拓郎、もう一度心の準備をしておけ。
Kiryu, get ready for something else.
お前はこれまでと同じか、それ以上のショックを受けることになる。お前の心が壊れるのを見たくない。
You're about to be hit with something that's the same as or greater than anything that's come before. I don't want to see your mind destroyed. I like how she's like, I know you're a bitch. Please don't bitch out here. The warning, it's like trigger warning, but only for Takuru. Because you're such a huge bitch. She's like, Kunosada will be fine. Arima, yeah, she'll be fine.
一体何を
What are you saying, Sarika? Before I could ask, she put her hand to the phone and answered the call.
フリージアには着いたか？
Hey, did you make it to Frisia? I'd heard that voice before, but I couldn't tell whose it was. No, that wasn't right. I didn't want to. It was rare to hear his voice from Sarika's phone anyway. Whenever he needed something, he'd always call me or Nona.
どうしてここにいると分かったというのは愚問か。
How'd you know I was here? I guess that's a stupid question.
まあな。ああ言えばお前は全力でそこへ向かうだろう。
Yeah, I knew if I told you that, you'd go running straight there. I'd never seen Sarika spit like that. And this time her face was red with anger.
で、どうだ？タクルはいるか？
How's it look? Is Takuru there? When I heard the name Takuru, I shivered. I knew it. There's no way I could mistake that voice. I knew why Sarika told me to be ready for a shock. That voice.
なあ、タクル、いるんだろ？俺だよ。
Hey, Takuru, you're there, right? It's me. Wataru Sakuma. It was the voice of my father, Wataru Sakuma. Interesting time to quick save automatically. I couldn't speak. The ground beneath me seemed to shift and I felt sick. The phone seemed to stick out clearly while everything else faded away.
佐久間先生。
Dr. Sakuma.
ち
So
そう
that's
いう
it,
ことか。
huh?
こちらの動きはみんな筒抜けだったわけね。
They knew everything we were up to then.
おい、タクル、聞いてんのか？
Hey, Takuru, you listening?
もしもし。
Hello?
父さんなんで
Why?
おお、やっぱいるじゃねえか。なんだ、まだお前から聞いてねえのか？
Oh, you're there. Oh, no, it hasn't told you yet? Told me what? Told me what? And why is Dad calling Sarika's
全
phone?
部の絵を描いてたのは俺と尾上だよ。
Oh, no, and I planned the whole thing. I didn't understand what he meant, but I could hear my heart pounding
今回
loudly.
起きた一連の事件の最初からな。結構苦労したんだぞ。尾上と二人でいろいろと準備して。
We planned the whole thing from the start. It was a lot of work, you know. Noe and I had to work as a team to get all this stuff ready.
一緒にするなよ。
We were not a team. But you killed like half the people. I flinched away from her. Sarika was staring at the phone with a look on her face I had never seen
失礼
before.
ねえな。事実じゃねえか。
But it's true,
一
right?
緒に頑張って殺してきただろ。
We both worked real hard to kill them all.
未来予知の大谷も感情誘導の高柳も思考盗撮の更新でバイトしてた兄ちゃんは何つったっけな。
Utani the precon? Takaneyagi, the one who controlled emotions? The mind reader? What was his name? The one who worked at Koshin?
まあいいか。渡部もハイダもユイもノノも
Well, it doesn't matter. Watabe, Haida, and Yui, and Nono too.
みんな俺とお前の成果だろ。
We accomplished it all together. That was my dad's voice, no mistaking it. The names Yui and Nono echoed in my mind. Accomplished together? He's remarkably composed. Apparently being warned he's gonna be experiencing mind-shattering things is enough to make him steel himself. Although, I'll be honest, he didn't get a warning, and he managed to compose himself for 5 minutes after being surprised. And we noted that a little bit earlier, that he actually didn't panic when there was something he would normally panic for. So, might just be he's getting used to this. I felt like I needed to vomit. The taste of stomach acid rose into my mouth. I fell to my knees, unable to stand. Drool and vomit dribbled out of the corner of my mouth and onto the floor. Armor was saying something to me. I could hear the words, but I couldn't understand them. This was a dream. It was just a bad dream, because why would Dad do that? Look up. Dad and Sarika had killed them. Killed Yui. Killed Nono. Killed 2 of our family. And he still doesn't have the willpower to kill her. Come on, man. She literally framed you for murder and framed you for murdering your own family, and you're not even mad enough to punch her. Look at me. What? The hell? That didn't make any sense at all. What the hell is going on? Look at me, Takeru. What are you gonna say? You didn't kill Nono? That'll be a good one. Our eyes met. Sarika was looking at me, her expression fierce. Everything will be fine. She looked straight into my eyes. Yeah, I'm here for you. Everything will be fine. Fine? Fine. That's like her way of saying Nono's fine too, right? He has a very different definition of fine to me, I'm gonna be honest. It's like, alright, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. I'm just gonna kill you and bury you, and you'll be fine because you'll be dead and there won't be any pain. That's the definition of fine. You gotta... Look, Takuru, you gotta be more flexible. She's a serial killer. Fine is like you're in a body bag, and she doesn't have to deal with you because no one cares. Be flexible. That's quite the statement. Also, in theory, even if she believes that, she doesn't believe that because she's worried we're going to be dead. And if she believes that there's a chance we might be killed anyway, then Arimura should immediately ping that as a lie. But we'll see how this goes. Sarika's eyes narrowed as she looked at Kunosato. Don't worry, Mio. I have no intention of trying to make you understand. Nor do I want to be on your people's side. Kunosato and Arimura went pale. So that's your power. Mind reading. You're sharp. That's right, the same thing Kikita had. Hey Taku, you listening? Come on, tell me you're there. Tell me you're there, buddy. Dad, why? What's going on? I told you, Onoe and I did it all. But why? Wataru Sakuma works for the committee. Sarika said the word like she was disgusted by it. When Kunosato heard it, her face was filled with anger. More precisely, a small organization that works for them. He was one of the ones doing Gigalomaniac research in that basement. They decided psychics created by the earthquake were a threat to their plans, so they hunted down and killed them. I helped them in exchange for their promise to allow you to live. Cool story, still murder. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The air was just leaking out of my mouth. Dad was what? Oh no, are you seriously planning to take Takeru and run?
お前は約束を保護にした。好きにさせてもらう。
You broke your promise. I'll do what I want.
そうじゃなくてよ。そんなこと可能だと思ってんのか？と。
That's not what I mean. Do you think that's even possible? Just a second.
ぼちぼちだな。ちょうどいい。テレビつけてみろ。
Yeah, okay, seems fine. Turn on the TV. Any channel's fine.
何？
What?
いいからよ。
Just do it. You got a TV there, right? Right? Alright, TV time. Someone, probably Mimosa, turned on the TV. The voice of the announcer filled the room.
続きまして渋谷で発生した連続猟奇事件に関する速報です。
Wow, perfect timing. Isn't it always weird how in movies and stories it's always like the exact clip of the news? Like, sometimes news channels play on like 30-minute or an hour loops, but it's never, you never get the start of the story. Breaking news on Shibuya serial killings.
未成年の実名を公表したことにより注目されている今回の事件ですが、
The case attracted a lot of attention because the police used the suspect's real name despite his being a minor.
先ほど重要参考人として指名手配されている宮代拓君本人から報道機関宛てにメールで連絡が入りました。
Takeru Miyashiro, wanted as a person of interest in the case, just sent a message to the media. What? Takeru Seika turned and looked at me.
知らない。僕は何もしてない。
I don't understand. I didn't do that.
そのメールには明日渋谷で開催される渋谷復興祭において注目の中自らの命を絶つと記載されており、
The message, delivered in the form of an email, says he plans to take his life tomorrow in the middle of Shibuya Restoration
警
Festival.
察はメールの中に犯人しか知り得ない情報、いわゆる秘密の暴露が含まれていたことからこのメールを宮代拓君本人からのものと断定しました。
The police say the message contains information known only to them and the killer, and so they decided it was sent by Takeru Miyashiro himself. I could hear myself let out a short scream. The hell is this? What's going on?
佐久間、お前。
いや、拓郎連れて逃げるなんて言うもんだからよ。どうしたら諦めてくれるかと思ってな。
Well, you said you were going to take Takeru and run away, so I had to come up with something to get you to change your mind. I mean, if you're going to choose between having your name smeared all over the place and dying, I mean, fleeing the country sort of works, although I have no... Well, Japan's an island. I'm sure they have boats everywhere.
何？自ら命を絶つなんて誇張だよ、誇張。
Don't worry, don't worry. The part about taking his own life is an exaggeration.
話題性は抜群だろ？復興祭に参加する人間、街中の奴らがタクルの死ぬとこを見物しようと探し回ることになる。
Everyone in the festival tomorrow, which is to say, everyone in the city, will be searching for him so they can watch him die. It's great.
フリージアに隠れてたって、俺がネットでちょっと情報を流してやればそれで終わりだ。隠れる場所なんてどこにもなくなるぜ。
You can try hiding in Frisia, but all I have to do is... Okay, so if Kuno Sato had like 2 brain cells, she would have like immediately started recording that. Or sorry, fucking Sarika would have immediately started recording this. Either that or Kuno Sato's recording it. Like, if you have the evidence for this, and you're like, here you go. How many people does he have to mind control to like get that going? If you like send it up the chain, you're like, here you go. I got this nice recording of someone admitting to murdering it and framing someone. That would be pretty handy. Although it'd be a pain, but he could probably mind control everyone, right? There's no place for him to hide now. You just link. All you have to do is leak information on the internet. Frisia will be swarmed.
お前どうする？タクロを諦めてくれるんなら、俺はこれからもお前と組んでやっていきたいと思ってんだ。まだ狩りは残ってるしな。
No way, what are you gonna do? If you're willing to give up on Takeru, I'd like to work with you. There's still hunting to be done after all. It was a short silence. Hearing the two of them talk about me didn't seem real. It was like watching the world from the other side of a pane of glass.
わかった。
What?
ただし、条件が一つある。
I have one condition.
おお、なんだ。
What's that?
お前を殺させろ。
Let me kill you.
あ？
Huh?
今どこにいる？殺してやるから教えろよ。
Where are you? Tell me so I can come kill you. His voice suddenly cut off. There was a heavy silence as he tried to figure out what she meant.
つまり返事はノーってことか。
In other words, no?
宮代拓は 私が存在する意味そのものだ。彼に害をなす者には指一本触れさせない。
Except for you. Akira Miyashiro is the reason I exist. I won't let anyone hurt him except for yourself and this other guy. You're doing a really bad job of this, Sariko.
本気で言ってんのかよ。
Are you serious?
地震の日に肉体を得てから6年。お前に脅されながら人を殺し、組織のために死体の山を築いてきた私を甘く見るな。
It's been 6 years since I became real during the earthquake. I've been killing people ever since. Don't underestimate me. I heard what sounded like an animal's laugh. It was my father's laugh, the one I'd always heard at Albador.
強がりってのもなかなか可愛いもんだな。さっき腹を裂かれたばっかだってのによ。お前、俺を殺せるつもりでいんのか?
It's so cute when you're stuck. You got your stomach ripped open and you think you can kill me. Fine, I'll play along.
始まりの場所に来な。
Come to where it all began, okay?
始まりの場所。
Where it began?
わかんねえか? 今回の事件、いや、6年前の事件も含めて、全てが始まった場所だよ。
You don't know what I mean? Where everything about this case, no. This and the one that happened 6 years ago, where all that began.
あそこか。
There, huh?
そう、そこだよ。ついでに時間も合わせようじゃねえか。あの時あの場所でってやつだ。
That's right, let's see if we can't match the time too. It'll be more dramatic that way.
お前の死に場所にはぴったりだろ。もちろん、タクルも連れてこいよ。
It'll be the perfect place for you to die, isn't it? Of course, bring Takuru too. And then, I felt the cold electronic beep of an ended call. Everyone but me was looking at Sarika and her phone. I was still on the floor, unable to move.
11月6日、0時になりました。次のニュースです。
It's now midnight, November 6th. Our next top story. Nobody cares about the next top story. Chapter 11, Takuru Miyashiro. Wow, what a fucking revelation. Looks like we're headed to our final showdown. We got a nice invitation from the villain. Guess we'll have to find out how this goes. I'm afraid that's gonna have to be a story for next time.